Immortal Cultivation begins with time management. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 801. Counting and receiving goods. Having said that, although the original intention was to find the secret method of sword making for his wife, he did not expect to get the shenanigans by mistake. Luo Yan thought it was a very worthwhile deal to exchange the merit of finding the shenanigans for the unreasonable protection of the Wongxiang immortal in the future. After all, for his ultimate goal, gaining the trust of the highest level in the sect is more important than anything else. Among the 5 characters, Qiu Changtian and Wei Donliu were the busiest because of the confrontation between the forces behind them. Ling Yunpo's situation was originally much more dangerous, but now that Su Jian has come out of retreat and stepped onto the stage, his situation has improved a lot. Leng Long was originally quite relaxed, but now that the war in the East Empire realm is everywhere, it is busy. Only Luo Yan, because of the poor strength of Pengliu King Temple, did not dare to make enemies everywhere, so he was the most leisurely and healthy. Everything is handled by his wife, so he does not need to do it personally like Qiu Changtian, nor will he be complained about not doing his job like Wei Dongliu, which is really comfortable. After the shenanigans was handed over to the sect, Shili did not mention the other treasures, and Luo Yan just happened to study them. The first is the Red Dust 100 Worlds picture. This scroll has its own illusion and space secret realm, which can cover the enemy. If there is no way to escape, it can only be concocted by others. Considering that illusion and space techniques are both quite rare types of spells, the value of this magic weapon is not low. Unfortunately, it is highly overlapped with the Kunlun mirror, and the spirit of the weapon is mentally retarded, so let Lily play with it. The second is the 7 Treasures Giant Clam Pearl. I have to say that the old dragon has a good eye. With Luo Yan's knowledge and experience, it is not that he has never seen giant clam pearls, but he has never encountered such a fine appearance. Its color is white and bright, and the pearl light is round. After injecting the true essence and throwing it, it will emit a faint halo. The enemy is covered by the halo, and immediately the body cannot move, and can only be slaughtered. The only problem is that the ability to immobilize the opponent requires the consumption of the true essence injected into the 7 Treasures Giant Clam bead. The higher the opponent's own cultivation level, the faster the true essence in the 7 Treasures Giant Clam bead will be consumed. If it is used up, it will naturally be impossible to continue to immobilize the opponent. Luo Yan thought carefully for a moment and realized that with the powerful level of his true essence, he was probably invincible in the Jinnan realm, but it would definitely not be enough to face the big guys in the Yuning realm. If it is against a Jinnan real person, the immobilization of the 7 Treasures Giant Clam bead will definitely be very effective, but even without this treasure, I can kill the opponent directly with the 5 Thunders Orthodoxy and the 5 Colors Divine Light, so why do I need to immobilize? And against the Yuning Elder, the Giant Clam bead is useless. In short, it is suitable for cultivators with average strength in the same level, and can effectively increase the means of control, but it is not very useful for Luo Yan. Let Lily play with it. The third one is the Heart of a 1000-year-old Tree Demon. Luo Yan studied it for a long time and finally came to a conclusion. Use it to make medicine. In the past, he would have sold it directly to the alchemists in Pengliu. But now that he has copied the alchemy technique from Shenanigans, Luo Yan suddenly has the confidence to learn it by himself. This is not to steal other people's Taoism, but the skills recorded on Shenanigans. I can still learn it by myself. Elder Shiding is proficient in most of the techniques of making tools, but he is not very good at other fields. Why can't I, Jin Yun's Hinran, surpass him and integrate all the various schools of thought in Pengliu? At the time, Tiangong Fang will no longer be called Tiangong Fang, but Pengliu Fang. Everything that Pengliu has, my workshop will know and can teach. It's generous. Luo Yan thought about it for a while, and then continued to examine the harvest. The fourth one is a pill bottle, which was also an item originally brought in the old dragon's storage bag. After confirming that there was no problem, Luo Yan opened the pill bottle and found that it was a bottle of dragon blood pill. The so-called dragon blood pill is a pill made by the ancestor level dragon clan with blood essence, which is similar to the 9-turn red phoenix pill of the phoenix. The user must have dragon blood, otherwise most of the medicinal power will be wasted. Although Luo Yan does not have dragon blood, Long Long does. I really didn't expect that there would be something that could help Long Long in the cultivation world. This world is really wonderful. The fifth is an old Taoist robe. Although it was washed white and many places were patched, it did not look dirty, but clean. According to the scan of the Kunlun mirror, no spiritual power was found. It seems that this is really just an ordinary Taoist robe. But if it is really an ordinary Taoist robe, why would the old dragon carry it with him? If it is some kind of silk stockings and underwear, it can be explained as the special hobby of the old dragon. The Taoist robe, it really doesn't make sense. There must be something strange. Luo Yan thought so, and planned to put the Taoist robe into the Tiangong by Bahu bag and carry it close to him. But then he thought, could the old dragon have also gotten it from someone? He wondered why the other party carried it close to his body, so he carried it close to his body too. If so, how painful it would be for him. Luo Yan ignored it and continued to study the sixth harvest, which was a thin scripture. The name of this scripture was Jade Pot Ice Heart Secret, which was a very simple name. Luo Yan flicked through the content, and the content was quite profound. It taught monks how to keep their hearts and avoid going crazy, and how to repair the injuries to the sea of consciousness if they went crazy. Speaking of this, Luo Yan suddenly remembered a black-robed Taoist priest on an overseas island. The Taoist priest also had to stay on the island because of going crazy, and used the ice under the ground to slow down the attack of the inner demon. Later, he taught Su Jian, senior sister and himself. If I give this scripture to him, it might be helpful. But the problem is, first, although the old man praised Nzesu, he didn't know why he was unhappy with him. He was always finding fault with him and had nothing good to say. Helping the old man, Ling Yunpo was not happy. Second, Ling Yunpo would steal or even rob Shushan's Tianqi fragment one day, which means he would become an enemy of Su Jian, the head of Shushan. It always felt that rescuing such a sword immortal who had a great relationship with Su Jian might not be a good thing. Third, the old man had a bad impression of him, and it seemed unlikely that he wanted to use this scripture to squeeze benefits from him. Forget it, let's put it aside for now. Old man, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for looking down on others and offending your grandfather Ling Yunpo. After hiding the Taoist book in the Tiangong by Bahu bag, Luo Yan looked at the last Baguo mirror. This is a bronze mirror with a bright and shiny mirror in the center and Baguo reliefs engraved around it. Luo Yan tried to pour his true essence into it, and found that the mirror gradually lit up and shone brightly. But I don't know what these mirror lights are used for. In addition, I don't know what the purpose of the surrounding Baguo patterns is. I asked Kunlun Mirror's human sword, but they both said they didn't know. I think it should be a magic weapon made by Shannon himself and never used, so it has no reputation passed down. In this case, I can only keep it for the time being and wait for future use. Chapter 802. His Highness Feng Yan has already been appointed. However, Luo Yan sorted out the various harvests and found that most of them were not suitable for his own use, so he could only throw them to Lily to play with. On second thought, it was normal. The things that could still catch his eye now had to be peerless secrets or treasures of the same level as the innate 5 elements divine light. For example, the Chaos Red Talisman, the Jade Morning Thunder, the Shannon Bing, etc. How could these things be encountered casually? Forget about these, let's reload the file and go to the East Empire Realm first. The war in the East Empire Realm is raging. Although the Horn clan of the Western Province and the Kung clan of the Northern Province took the lead in the war, no one expected that the most intense war would be in the Southern Province. The White Tiger Army of the Western Province borrowed the imperial capital to join forces with the Kalin of the Central Province, and then went south to the Two Rivers Plain. Within a few days, 2/3 of the territory fell, so that the entire Feather clan had begun to mobilize the whole people to fight the coalition to the death. In the Eastern Province, the Dragon clan finally couldn't sit still. Not to mention that the two tribes had signed a secret offensive and defensive alliance. The main reason was that the strength of the coalition forces of Thong Zhao and Shizhao far exceeded the strategic prediction of the Dragon tribe in the past. If we sit back and watch the Feather tribe perish, it would be tantamount to seeking death, so we must save them. So thousands of dragon monks crossed the three-legged mountain range, led by the great elder King Kang, and prepared to cut into the battlefield from the east side of the Two Rivers Plain. The friends who were separated in the Two Rivers Plain in the past have now reunited, but this time there is no princeling gilded group. Facing the crisis of life and death of the two tribes, every bit of power that can be used will be put into the chessboard by the great elder without hesitation. In the camp, Long Long met his old acquaintance Feng Yan again. This His Highness the Vermilion Bird is now the commander-in-chief of the Feather tribe, and he is on an equal footing with the great elder King Kang of the Dragon tribe. His daily routine is to call the Feather tribe generals who have retreated from the front line to scold them, and the sound can be heard by almost the entire camp. It can only be said that they are worthy at being the Feather Tribe, and they are good at scolding people. Long Long was wandering around the camp when he happened to meet Feng Yan coming out of the tent. He frowned and asked, "Why are you here?" "Your Highness, I am one of the monks from the Dragon Clan who came to support us this time," Long Long replied. "Nonsense," Feng Yan said, "I'm asking why we're not on the battlefield." "I'm waiting for orders," Long Long said. "Then I order you to go to Yuanjing City immediately to lead the remaining troops to evacuate the siege," Feng Yan said bluntly. "Sorry, Your Highness." Long Long was speechless. "We only accept orders from the Great Elder. You're overstepping your authority." "Well, I'll go find your Great Elder." Feng Yan left immediately without looking back. Long Long. Feng Yan walked into the command camp and found King Ke Kang, saying concisely, "If the troops in Yuanjing City don't withdraw, and if they're eaten by the coalition forces, we will have no chance to turn the tables in the Two Rivers Plain." The problem is that Lu Yan also knows this. King Ke Kang showed her the battle map. "Did you see it? The only few directions for breaking out are all pockets he deliberately left for us. How many advance, how many die, there is no chance." "I don't care about this." Feng Yan didn't even look at the battle map, but said firmly, "The Yu clan troops in Yuanjing City must be rescued, they can't hold on alone for long." I said, "The key is how to rescue them." King Ke Kang skillfully threw the question back. "Ask Long Long to rescue them." Feng Yan said, "Didn't he successfully escape from the ambush of the Horn clan in the Two Rivers Plain before? I think he has this talent for infiltration and escape." King Ke Kang was suddenly a little helpless. Although he didn't want to deny that Long Long had this talent, wasn't it a bit too arbitrary to make such a judgment based on just one successful escape? "Elder Keen." Feng Yan's face was as gloomy as water, and she said slowly, "If our Feather Clan loses, your Dragon Clan will also be in trouble." "Your Highness, there is no need to remind me of this." King Ke Kang said calmly, "I just wonder if he has the ability." "He must have it." Feng Yan said, "When he explored the ruins on Shenlong Island in the past, he also got the biggest gain, right?" King Ke Kang's eyebrows jumped. The result of the trip to Shenlong Island in the past was a secret within the Dragon Clan. How could the Feather Clan know it? Although he didn't understand why, he still didn't admit it, but just asked, "Why do you say that, Your Highness?" "Why do you ask this question when you already know the answer, Elder?" Feng Yan asked back, "I just don't believe that your Dragon Clan doesn't have any intelligent spies planted within our Feather Clan." "Ha ha ha, we really don't have that." King Ke Kang smiled casually, "We Dragon Clan don't have the habit of spying on our allies." Hilly. Feng Yan said that I could only laugh at this nonsense, and then continued, "In my opinion, this Long Long is the best choice in terms of intelligence, strategy and courage. If you only value his bloodline, it would be a waste of talent. The clan has not planned to arrange a marriage for him yet." King Ke Kang said casually, "But your Highness seems to have too much confidence in him. Could it be that you don't feel sorry for the genius seeds of other clans who died in battle? Where are there any genius seeds that don't go to the battlefield? That's a stud." Feng Yan said disapprovingly, "Real geniuses all come out of the battlefield. If you don't believe it, look at the White Tiger General Lu Yan." King Ke Kang fell silent. "That's right, if he doesn't go to the battlefield, then Long Long can only stay in the tribe and concentrate on giving birth. Although stud sounds a bit harsh, it doesn't really make any difference. A true genius needs to gain experience in blood and fire on the battlefield before he can hone his brilliance. As for genius and stud, which one is more beneficial to the Kang Long clan is a self-evident thing. I need to think about it." King Ke Kang finally gave in. "Don't make me wait too long." Feng Yan narrowed her narrow phoenix eyes, "I'm very impatient." Feng Yan left in a hurry again. King Ke Kang pondered for a long time and called someone to call Long Long and Longuin. When Long Long heard that the Great Elder had summoned him, he immediately knew that something was wrong, and he could only take Long with him. As soon as he entered the command room, he saw King Ke Kang pacing around. In the center of the room was a huge sand table magic weapon, and countless clay soldiers were fighting on the sand table, and the scene was very lifelike. The red ones in the city are the remaining troops of the Feather Clan. King Ke Kang said, "The white ones outside are the coalition forces of the Horn Clan and the Hair Clan. The blue ones on the outside are the support troops of our Kandlong and their Thu now. The current situation is like this. If we don't go to rescue, the defensive formation inside will eventually run out of resources, and then the remaining troops of the Feather Clan will be eaten up. If we go to rescue, then the coalition forces are likely to turn around and eat up the reinforcements we sent out. If you are the commander-in-chief, what would you do? Long Hu stared at the sand table with a thoughtful look, and Long Long hurriedly said modestly, "Reply to the elder, I'm ignorant and dare not speak nonsense." "Whatever you say." King Kan waved his hand, thinking that Fen Yan had some truth in what he said. Long Long was so young, but he knew how to hide his shortcomings. He had to force him. Chapter 803 Why Don't I Take Charge? Long Long looked at the sand table topographic map, pondered for a moment, and replied, Yuanjing City is surrounded by plains on 3 sides, and the west is almost completely adjacent to the river. For our dragon clan, breaking into the encirclement by water from the west and providing support to the city is undoubtedly the best plan. Of course, the coalition forces cannot be unaware of this. Judging from the distribution of troops, since the enemy has no defenses on the west side, it means that they must have ambushed them, waiting to catch our support troops in one fell swoop. Well, King Kan and Fen Yan had already seen these obvious strategic judgments, so the great elder of the dragon clan waved his hand and said, "Go on." But if we break in from the other 3 directions, given the defense and geographical advantages of the Horn clan, we will undoubtedly run into a solid wall. Long Long continued, so we still have to enter from the west. However, it cannot be a small force, but a sufficient number of troops. Since the enemy has set up an ambush, the number cannot be large, otherwise the ambush will not work. As long as our troops exceed this critical point, the ambush will not be effective. I have a question. Long Yu suddenly asked beside him. The opponent is the White Tiger God General. Could it be that he has already considered this possibility in advance? Probably. Long Long replied calmly, if he wants to target the above strategy and finds that a large number of troops are gathering in the western river, he will most likely transfer troops from the north and south. In this way, there will be gaps on the north and south sides of the encirclement. King Kan's eyes lit up. The next second, Long Long's answer surprised him again. It's hard to say, we'll see when the time comes. If the elder wants to send me to rescue, he must hand over the command of the troops on the scene to me. King Kan immediately pondered. If Long Long is sent to rescue, it's okay, but giving him the power to command the troops is another matter. You go back first. He finally said slowly, I'll think about it. Long Long took Long Wu out of the command room. As soon as he went out, the little fox asked curiously, Long Long, you actually dare to ask for the command of the frontline troops, how could the great elder agree? He has to agree. Long Long replied. Why? Because he can't find the right people to carry out this highly difficult task. Long Long said, otherwise he wouldn't have asked you 2 little cultivators in the transformation realm to go over there. What if he really doesn't trust you? Long Yu continued to ask, for example, the frontliner troops cannot afford to fail, or something like that. Wouldn't that be better? Long Long smiled slightly, then we don't have to take action. That's a nice thought. Fen Yan suddenly came out from the side and sneered, you dare to ask for the command of the Dragon Clan's frontliner troops. You really gave King Kan a difficult problem. Is the clan school education within the Dragon Clan so poor that any random clan member is unwilling to serve the clan? Your Highness is wrong. Long Long said seriously, not only the Dragon Clan troops, but also the support troops of the Feather Clan located on the front line of Yuanjing City, the command must also be handed over to me. Fen Yan. I just finished mocking the Dragon Clan, but the other party named it in the blink of an eye and wanted to take away the military power of the Feather Clan. What do you want the command for? Fen Yan subconsciously found fault. Your Highness, don't you think that you can successfully break the anti-breakout circle set up by the White Tiger God General with a few established strategies? Long Long asked with a sneer. Fen Yan was speechless. How could she not know that in order to tear open the encirclement of the coalition forces, she must command on the spot? The problem is, when I ask you what do you want the command for, I'm asking you what you plan to do and how sure you are. At the very least, you can show me a few words of loyalty and shout a few times guarantee to complete the mission, and I will at least feel relieved, right? For Long Long's indifferent and arrogant attitude, if it were another Feather Tribe general, she would have scolded him. Want command? I'll ask, how do you plan to command? You can't convince me, and you still dare to ask for command. But if it were this Long Long, if she scolded him, he would definitely take advantage of the situation and say that I can't do it, you should find someone else. Fen Yan was so angry that she wanted to turn into the original body of the vermilion bird and peck at him fiercely. You. Fen Yan finally suppressed her negative emotions and asked coldly, the right of command should not be given to others lightly, especially to foreign cultivators. Tell me how you'll command after you get the right of command. Long. He was silent for a moment, and slowly asked Fen Yan, Your Highness, what? If you have something to say, say it. Fen Yan scolded. Your Highness, don't you think that you can successfully break the anti-breakout circle set up by the White Tiger God General with a few pre-made strategies? Long repeated his previous words again in silence. Okay. Fen Yan finally broke down and said angrily, I won't talk to you, I'm going to find your dragon elders. She rushed into the command room aggressively. Although the little fox next to her covered her mouth with her hands, her eyebrows and eyes were already smiling, almost narrowed into two crescents. Long, you said it well. She praised with a smile, look at how you pissed her off, I didn't mean to piss her off. Long shook his head and said in a deep voice, I was telling the truth. Yeah, the truth. Thinking of the danger of this trip, Long's original fun disappeared without a trace, and he sighed, alas, if the opponent is not the White Tiger God General. Long, how confident are you against him? Long touched her head and asked. If I say it's not 100%, you'll definitely still be worried, right? Of course. Long said, as long as it's not 100%, there'll still be danger after all. In that case, don't ask. Long said, let's just do our best. Of course, he didn't say his greatest confidence. We, a dragon and a fox, may not be the opponent of the White Tiger God General, but if we add a mirror and a sword, it will be different. Fen Yan rushed into the command room angrily and said to King Kang, What's wrong with Long from your tribe? He actually wants the command of our tribe's troops on the front line. Well, this is understandable. King Kang pointed to the sand table topographic map and repeated Long's plan. Fen Yan immediately calmed down, staring at the sand table and thinking, use large-scale troop mobilization to tear open the encirclement outside Yuanjing City. That does require commanding the troops of both tribes at the same time. His idea is not bad, but commanding and mobilizing so many troops must also require a high level of command, right? In this regard, is Long really the opponent of the White Tiger God General? She hesitated subconsciously, but saw King Kang staring at her with a strange look on his face. What's wrong? Your Highness. King Kang said with a smile, Your Highness, weren't you the first one to suggest to me that you were optimistic about Long? Chapter 804 Taking Over Command Authority. King Kang asked this question, and Fen Yan was immediately stumped. It is true that it was Fen Yan's own judgment to be optimistic about Long, but she also hoped that the allies of the Kang Long clan would recognize this judgment. However, King Kang always maintained a kind of unfathomable and non-committal attitude, which made Fen Yan feel a little annoying. Regardless of whether I am optimistic about him or not, aren't you the most clear about the strength and means of the cultivators of your dragon clan? Why do you ask me instead? Fen Yan laughed and said, Elder King has no confidence in Long. Then I am more looking forward to him. Why is that? King Kang asked curiously. There are many geniuses who show their talents, but only 1 in 10,000 knows how to hide their shortcomings. Fen Yan said. King Kang was speechless when he heard this, thinking that it was true. I called the child to the command room and asked him about his views on the current war situation. If it were his energetic peers of the Dragon Clan, they would have been eager to offer suggestions. As a result, this kid said to me I dare not speak nonsense because I am ignorant, which made King Kang almost lose his composure. If you don't have talent, why hide your shortcomings? What His Highness Fen Yan said makes some sense. Maybe I should give Long a little more trust. What do you think, His Highness Fen Yan? King Kang asked tentatively, this clan's military power, what do you think, Elder King? Fen Yan asked tentatively. How about this? King Kang said, how about you and I write down our ideas in our hands and then spread them out at the same time? Very good. Fen Yan nodded. So the two turned around, picked up the pen to write, and then clenched their fists, facing each other, and slowly loosened their fingers. King Kang's hand was empty, and Fen Yan's hand was also empty. But the two laughed, for no other reason. Since you let go, it means delegating power. Since he dares to ask for it, let him have power. Soon, Long received a transfer order, asking him to take Dragon Fox to the southern front of Yuanjing City in the north to carry out the plan to rescue the remaining troops in the city. Along with the transfer order, there was also King Kan's green scale order and Feng Yan's red feather arrow. Both are symbols of military power in their respective tribes. Long Long can use them to command the front battlefield and command any monks of the Feather Clan and Scale Clan. The person who sent the transfer order was a young girl. Long Long recognized that this girl was a granddaughter of King Kang, named Qin Lu. Although she looked fair and delicate, she was usually quiet, so she was not well known in the circle of the second generation of the Dragon Clan. Grandpa told me to go with you too. Qin Lu said calmly, there are subordinates of my grandfather in the army. When they saw me, they knew it was my grandfather's intention. Long Long and Long Lu immediately understood that King Kang was worried that he could not suppress the unruly dragon cultivators on the front line with just a kingly order, so he specially asked Qin Lu to go over to support the scene. In fact, large demon tribes such as Kanglong and Juthu now often have a conscription system and a recruitment system in parallel. That is, every cultivator in the tribe needs to serve on the battlefield for a certain number of years, but after the number of years is up, they can choose to retire and return to the tribe to rest, or continue to serve on the battlefield. Because the people of the Eastern Empire realm are fierce and wars are frequent, the various tribes have also invested a lot in the military. The treatment of military service is also considered to be upper middle in the tribe, resulting in many children of the tribe with blood status like to fight for merit on the battlefield and get rewards to ensure their subsequent cultivation. These monks who have been serving voluntarily for a long time will naturally stick together over time and become a pro-war and xenophobic military faction within the clan. For a noble son like Long Long who has not served for a long time but was conscripted because of the war, he will be directly parachuted into the commander-in-chief of everyone. He will most likely be hostile to or even resisted by these factions. With King Kang's granddaughter accompanying him, it is equivalent to King Kang himself coming forward. Even if the troublemakers are not convinced by Long Long, the young dragon, they have to give face to the great elder of the Dragon Clan. After receiving the order, the three of them set off quickly, riding the clouds and mist, rushing north day and night, and soon arrived at the southern plain of Yuanjing City. Surrounding a certain hill on the plain is a dense formation covering the battlefield, leaving almost no room for infiltration. On the left side, by the river, is the 1,000 scales and 10,000 layers formation of the Dragon Clan. Those who break into the formation will be entangled by the strong wind, inconvenient to move, and at the mercy of others. On the right side, by the hills, is the red blood-burning heart formation of the Feather Clan. Those who break into the formation will be enraged, and the fire will burn more and more fiercely until they burn themselves. Long Long looked carefully and found that the single formation structure of these two formations was relatively simple, but the horror was that they were densely packed, with at least hundreds of thousands of them laid on the ground, and the crystal stones behind them used to support the energy consumption of the formation must be an astronomical number. With so many formations, even if an immortal ancestor broke in without permission, he would be killed or injured by the people behind the formation who mobilized all their energy to bombard him. In previous wars, there was no need to put up such a luxurious positional battle posture. But in the previous war between Shizhao and Bizhao, the White Tiger God General Liu Yan defeated the defensive formation of the largest fortress in Bizhao with one blow, causing everyone to be like a frightened bird. When setting up camps and formations, they wanted to lay down 100 million formations, and no matter what god generals and ancestors broke in, they would be ashes. Soon, the Dragon and Feather tribesmen came out and confirmed the bloodline and identity of Long Long, Long Lu and Qin Lu, and then led them through the formation and headed towards the Frontliner Command Center. The Frontliner Command Center was set up inside the hills and was constructed by the Scale tribe who were good at digging. The purpose was to prevent the White Tiger God from using the decapitation tactic to wipe out the command center, causing the war in Nanzhao to be completely corrupted and difficult to save. Long Lu and Qin Lu followed the winding tunnel and passed through countless checkpoints on the way. After various identity verification procedures, they finally arrived at the command center. The indoor space here is not large, but there are quite a lot of people. Long Long squinted and saw 5 Dragon Tribe monks and 5 Feather Tribe monks, who were talking and arguing loudly around the war sand table. There were also 2 Feather Tribe monks who were probably doing odd jobs. One was making tea in the corner, and the other was standing at the gate in a daze. The one in a daze was none other than Jin Yan, a monk from the Jinwu tribe. In the past, this birdman, as a guard of His Highness Feng Yan, had fought with Long Long once. He was defeated, but he was still stubborn and refused to admit defeat. He gave Long Long a feather as compensation, saying that it was a proof of revenge and he would take it back when he won in the future. When Jin Yan saw Long Long and others come in, he was suddenly startled and shouted subconsciously, "Why is it you? Why can't it be me?" Long Long asked back. The two people's question and answer immediately interrupted the quarrel in the room. "Jin Yan, what are you arguing about?" one of the elders of the Feather Clan shouted. Jin Yang quickly explained, "Elder Zhu Ping, these are the new Dragon Clan monks. I'm asking about their purpose." The elder of the Feather Clan seemed to be the leader of all the Feather Clan monks present. Hearing this, he looked at Long Long and others. With just a glance, he knew that Long Long was the leader among the three. He frowned, his expression turned cold, and he shouted majestically, "This is a military stronghold. Why are you here?" "I am here to take over your command authority on the front line under the orders of Elder Qin and His Highness Fen Yan," Long Long replied indifferently. On both sides behind him, Long Lu and Qin Lu held the Qingqin order and the Kaiwaro, and quickly showed them to everyone on the scene for inspection. The room immediately fell silent, and the atmosphere was strange and a little weird. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 805. I will personally command the frontline battlefield. If there were no green scale order and red feather arrow, everyone would just laugh it off and beat the three people up. Seeing that the other party was a Dragon Clan, no matter how much the Feather Clan complained in their hearts, they had to give their allies face and not punish them with military law on the spot. However, the other party not only took out the military tokens of the two clans at the first time, but it was actually real. 3 little demons in the transformation realm got the military tokens of the two clans. Such an outrageous thing actually happened. If you refuse to obey orders, it is against the clan rules, and this crime is not a joke. But if you obey and let it go, if it spreads out, won't everyone lose face? At the time, when you yell in front of the battle, the other party only needs to say you have been a dog for the little demon in the transformation realm, and the momentum will be completely inferior. So the mood of everyone present was very complicated. On the one hand, they really didn't want to wait for orders, and on the other hand, they didn't want to be the first to protest. They all wanted others to be the first to speak out, and they would cheer from behind. Everyone's eyes soon focused on Elder Kongping. Kongping, from his surname, you can tell that he was from the Peacock clan. Due to the famous behavior of a certain great ancestor, the younger generations of the clan followed suit, and all of them were arrogant, wishing to lift their chins to the ground and look at people through their nostrils. Elder Kongping was relatively normal, at least he didn't turn his nose up at people, but he couldn't hide his arrogance. At this time, he really lived up to everyone's expectations and said coldly, "Red feather arrow? Where did you steal it?" "You can ask His Highness Fen Yan," Long Long said. "If this is an entertainment arranged by the allies, then I'm sorry we can't accompany you. The clan still has a lot of military affairs to do." Kongping glanced at the Dragon Clan elders at the scene, and said something stiffly, and then left, completely ignoring Long Long. The other Feather Clan elders looked at each other, and then followed him. Long Long's expression did not change, but he just winked at Qin Lu. So Qin Lu came out and said, "It was Grandpa and His Highness Fen Yan who wanted to give power to Long Long. You have been doing your own things on the front line, and too much time has been wasted. The situation still has not improved. Grandpa has lost confidence in you, so he asked Long Long and me to come." This girl spoke too bluntly, so that the faces of the dragon cultivators turned black, but they could not refute it. The remnants of the Yu clan in Yuanjing City are still struggling to maintain the defensive formation in the city. No matter how to defend at this time, it sounds unconvincing. Instead of openly defying the clan rules, it is better to wait for this Long Long to take over the military power, and then meet the White Tiger God General with a bloody head. In this way, even if the remnants of Yuanjing City are not saved in the end, there'll naturally be someone else to take the blame for us. Thinking of this, everyone finally found a reason to convince themselves to follow that command of this young man, so the leading Dragon Elder came out and said, "Since the Great Elder has given the order, then Long Long will be in charge next. Do you understand?" "Understood." Everyone responded sparsely. Long Long looked at the elder, searched his memory for a moment, and recognized that this was the military elder Qin Sitone. Qin Sitone is a die-hard faction of the Great Elder Qin Kang in the Dragon Clan. It is said that when the Great Elder was in service, this person was already his subordinate, so in a sense, he can be regarded as one of his own. Since this person has spoken, it is basically a done deal. Long Long no longer needs to worry about the Dragon Clan's hypocrisy. As for the Feathered Clan, he still has to find an opportunity to deal with it. Thinking of this, Long Long began to give orders. Let's talk about the current battlefield situation again. Qin Sitone did not get angry, but just explained it to him using the command sand table. Now the Dragon Clan and Feather Clan coalition is in the south, Yuanjing City is in the north, and the Cunning and White Tiger coalition is surrounding Yuanjing City from the north, east, and south. The south has the most troops, followed by the east, and then the north. The west is a river, so only the Mao clan monks patrol the river regularly, but there is no long-term garrison. If you put aside the high-level combat power, the military strength of the two sides is basically the same. Counting the high-level combat power, it may be that this side is better. The Azure Dragon and the Vermilion Bird each have an ancestor-level combat power guarding them, while the opposite side has only one ancestor, the White Tiger God General. The only problem is that the two ancestors are pure martial arts factions, and can't help with anything except fighting on the battlefield, while the White Tiger God General on the opposite side is proficient in military tactics and has repeatedly disrupted the arrangements here with various exquisite tactics, making the Culling Coalition currently have the upper hand. When Long Long heard this, he had a rough idea in his mind. It was like two big men fighting each other. Although one of them was stronger, he didn't know how to fight, so he was killed by the martial artist on the other side with all kinds of skills. Fortunately, no matter how powerful the White Tiger God General was, he didn't have the ability to break the defensive formation, so the situation on the field could still be deadlocked. If the stalemate continued, the remaining troops in the city would probably not be able to hold on. What's the situation in the city? Long Long asked. It's hard to say. Qin Sitone replied, the flying swords from the city will basically be intercepted halfway. Only from the west of the city, there'll occasionally be some messages that can break through the siege and reach us by chance. Can you confirm that it's true? Long Long asked. Qin Sitone was stunned when he heard it, but didn't know how to answer. What does true mean? Is he worried that it was forged by the White Tiger God General? Since you said that the flying swords in the city would be intercepted halfway, why is there a loophole in the west? Long Long sneered and said, from today on, all the suspected messages collected in the city will be treated as not received. Yes. Qin Sitone agreed quickly. Take me to the left wing of the front line to have a look. Long Long said. The group left the command camp, passed through the endless defensive formation, and stepped into the river to the west. They are all dragons, so the water escape method is naturally a must, so they soon approached the front line. If we go further, it will be easy to be discovered by the Mao tribe monks in the air. In the deep water, Qin Sitone pointed to the distance and said, this place is about 24 miles away from the west side of Yuanjing City. Since the Mao tribe monks are patrolling on the river, have you sent monks to intercept and kill them? Long Long asked. Qin Sitone was speechless for a moment. Earlier, of course, monks were sent to intercept and kill them, but later the source of information in the city was cut off, and only occasionally could they get flying sword messages from the west, which were transmitted under the cover of the river. The Dragon Clan and the Feather Clan were worried that if the fighting in the west was too fierce, it would attract more coalition forces to gather on the water battlefield, which would expose this information channel, so they stopped intercepting and killing them. At this time, Long Long had already doubted the authenticity of the flying sword message. Qin Sitone didn't know what to do, so he could only nod and say, I'll arrange it right away. How many people do you plan to arrange? Long Long asked. 20 people. Qin Sitone asked cautiously. Too few. Long Long shook his head, at least 200 people. Chapter 806 being taught 200 people, Qin Sitone was stunned. Now the two armies are facing each other, and the Dragon Clan and the Feather Clan here only have about 1,000 cultivators. The Culling and White Tiger coalition forces that surrounded Yuanjing City on the opposite side are estimated to be about 1,200 cultivators, but the other side has to divide its troops to block the troops in Yuanjing City, so overall it is evenly matched. If you do as Long Long said, just take out 1/5 of the cultivators and run to the western waterway to intercept and kill the patrol soldiers on the opposite side, that's not interception, it's clearly a strong attack. Moreover, if there are only more than 20 people, Qin Sitone can transfer them from somewhere at will. However, Long Long wants 200 people, which cannot be transferred casually, otherwise it will inevitably affect the density of the front line of defense. Seeing Qin Sitone pondering, Long Long asked, what's wrong? Qin Sitone said tactfully, Long Long, you don't know, These 200 people are not so easy to mobilize. Long Long naturally guessed the reason. He thought it was because the Feather Clan was unwilling to cooperate. If the Dragon Clan sent out these 200 people alone, it would affect the front line of defense, so he said, "This matter is not urgent. Let's go back first. I'll take a look at the distribution of troops on the front line of defense." Everyone left the river again and returned to the underground command post. Keen Sitone's expression remained unchanged, and he explained the current deployment of troops to Long Long on the command sand table. Although the other Dragon Clan generals did not speak, they kept communicating in secret and started discussing. "What's the matter with this guy? He doesn't even know the distribution of troops, but he comes here and asks for 200 people. What can we do? The Great Elder is his backer. Since it is the Great Elder's intention, I'm afraid the Fourth Master will not refute a word even if he is asked to go to the battlefield in person." I'm dying of laughter. We're a group of veterans on the battlefield, but now we are being commanded around by this young boy who has never been to the battlefield. Long Long seemed to be unaware of the complaints of the generals. He just listened to Keen Sitone's explanation patiently, and knew that the current situation of the Allied forces was that the Dragon Clan was deployed on the left wing and the Feather Clan was deployed on the right wing. The command systems of both sides were completely independent of each other. When they encountered any need for coordination, they had to invite the Feather Clan to discuss, just like fingers cannot be quickly clenched into fists. No wonder they could not defeat the White Tiger general on the opposite side. Keen Sitone explained the situation clearly in one breath, and the other dragon generals stopped talking. Everyone wanted to see how Long Long would react and what orders he would give. Long Long was silent and thought for a long time. Just when everyone was getting impatient, he slowly asked, "How does this sand table magic weapon work?" All the dragon generals were stunned, thinking that Keen Sitone told you so much, but you didn't listen to a word. All your attention was on what kind of magic weapon is this sand table, right? Keen Sitone was speechless and could only explain in detail. This is a mother-child magic weapon. Each of our dragon cultivators in service will carry a chess magic weapon for messaging. And this sand table magic weapon is called vertical and horizontal chessboard, which can display the actual distribution of troops on it according to the specific positions of all the chess magic weapons. If a cultivator dies on the battlefield, we can also use this chessboard magic weapon to know and confirm in time. I see. Long Long nodded and said, then the terrain on this sand table is also automatically scanned by the magic weapon to the actual battlefield, so as to present it in real time, right? Oh, that's not it. Then how is it? The scouts drew it manually on the chessboard magic weapon based on the memory obtained from investigating the surrounding terrain. Long Long was speechless for a moment, thinking that I thought this magic weapon was a simplified version of a Jin, but it turned out to be worse than the simplified version. How can we win the battle with such a simple command system? In that case, I will rearrange it. Long Long said so, and then he picked up the chess piece that symbolized the military strength on the sand table and pushed it forward. Wait. Keen Sitone hurriedly stopped him. Huh? Long Long asked, but his hands did not stop. If we directly adjust the distribution of military strength on the magic weapon, the monks outside will also feel it. Keen Sitone explained helplessly, they will adjust the actual formation distribution according to the new arrangement here. That's just right. Long Long smiled, with this treasure in hand, the military force will be like a black and white chess game. He continued to adjust the military strength, and soon all the troops were pushed forward, and 200 people were transferred to the western waters. The other dragon generals could not sit still. Although Long Long was just fiddling with the magic weapon on the chessboard, every change in the placement of the pieces meant that a monk had to leave the original stationed position. And Long Long's heroic move almost disrupted the previous layout. Such a large-scale personnel transfer will definitely cause doubts among the monks below. If there is no corresponding general to cooperate, there will be a big mess. So everyone could only curse silently that the boy treats military affairs as a joke and quickly leave the command room to appease the commander. Keen Sitone stood by, hesitant to speak. He wanted to dissuade Long Long from messing around, at least to understand the situation again. But looking closely at Long Long's move, although it was more radical than the original deployment, it did not seem to be radical enough to be inappropriate. If the front line was pushed forward a few hundred feet, it would enter the long-range attack range of the Cunning coalition, and the risk would be too high to accept. Keen Sitone looked more carefully and saw that due to the joint front of the Dragon Clan and the Feather Clan, the southern forces of the Cunning White Tiger coalition were in a semi-encirclement trend. and Long Long's comprehensive advancement led to a further shortening of the encirclement, so there was no need for as many monks as before. Therefore, the monks drawn out were exactly about 200 people. Kinsatone, who realized this, suddenly had the urge to burst into tears. He finally remembered. Previously, under the river, Long Long said that he would transfer 200 people to clear the river surface, and he replied that these 200 people were not so easy to transfer, so Long Long came back to operate the chessboard himself, not to play that game of deploying troops, but to personally demonstrate to him how to deploy these 200 people. Damn. As a veteran general, how can I not understand this matter of deploying troops? Kinsatone looked at the chessboard again, thinking that the front line would move forward, thereby reducing the number of troops required for stationing. Why didn't I think of this? Why did we station in the original position? Oh, I remember. It was the Feather Clan that was stationed there first, and then our Dragon Clan deployed defenses on their left wing to ensure that we would form a horn with the Feather Clan. The original position, although not the best geographical location, can form the best cooperation with the Feather Clan. Now, although Long Long's command has saved more troops, it has caused a gap in the coordination with the Feather Clan's front line. Long Long, is there a gap here? Kinsatone decided not to point out the problem directly, lest the young man lose face, but pretended to be uncertain and asked. Indeed. Long Long nodded. If the White Tiger God General divides his troops and breaks in from here, there is a risk of isolating the coalition forces of the Dragon Clan and the Feather Clan. Well, so we should still. Kinsatone was about to say let's keep the original position unchanged, and then he heard Long Long say, you go and tell the Feather Clan to move their front line forward as well, and cooperate with us to put pressure on Yuanjing City. Chapter 807. Unexpected, Long Long. If the Dragon Clan was speechless, then the Feather Clan was angry. Elder Kongpin immediately flew into a rage at the Dragon Clan messenger and said coldly, go back and tell Kinsatone that they, the Dragon Clan, can play house with a young boy, but we, the Feather Clan, don't have the time. Seeing that Elder Kong did not disappoint everyone and scolded the envoy sent by the Dragon Clan, everyone felt relieved and refreshed. After scolding, they began to mutter to each other. His Highness Feng Yan's scolding level is much higher than Elder Kongpin. If the latter makes people blush and burn with anger, then the former makes people feel ashamed and want to jump into the well to commit suicide. We disobeyed her orders and did not give face to Long Long. Even if we put all the responsibility on Elder Kongpin afterwards, we will inevitably be implicated. Thinking of this, everyone felt guilty again, so someone looked at the command center table and asked curiously to divert their anxiety. What do you think Kinsatone has gone crazy for? He actually obeyed the young man's order and moved the battle line forward. Aren't you afraid that the White Tiger God will make a tactical adjustment in the future and take advantage of the gaps between their formation changes to defeat the troops in our formation? Who knows? Another Feather Clan monk sneered, the Dragon Clan is looking for death on their own, can we stop them? Everyone laughed at him, and the voices of the Feather Clan were shrill and easy to distinguish, so the whole command room was full of mocking and laughing voices. If the White Tiger God defeats the Dragon Clan with this, won't he attack us next? Suddenly, someone said something that ruined the mood. The atmosphere quickly became stiff again. Everyone was having a good time talking about sarcastic remarks, but they were interrupted by someone like this, and they were immediately a little confused. They were so angry that they all stared at him, looking for the guy who didn't know what was good for him. What does it matter? Elder Kongpin waved his hand in disapproval. If the Dragon Clan reveals such a flaw and is defeated by the enemy, it just proves that they are not worthy at being an ally of our Feather Clan. Even if it doesn't happen this time, there will be a next time, and the next time, and they will still be unable to defend themselves. That's right. Everyone nodded in agreement. In short, we should still follow our plan. Elder Kongpin continued, everyone hold the line and don't give the enemy a chance to take advantage of it. After a while, a messenger came to report that the Dragon Clan's line had indeed moved forward. Although the Feather Clan did not have a magic weapon such as the vertical and horizontal chessboard, they were good at flying and voice transmission spells, and their command speed would not lag behind too much. Soon, everyone found that it was indeed as the Dragon Clan had said before, and there was an obvious disconnection and gap between the two sides' formations. Don't worry about it. Elder Kongpin waved his hand, this is a problem of the Dragon Clan moving their front line forward without authorization, not our problem. But in the opposite formation, it seems that there are enemies coming towards this gap. The messenger said quickly, about 300, no, 400. Elder Kongping frowned, feeling that things were not simple, and the surrounding Feather Clan generals also muttered. With so many cultivators, they must be planning to force their way in from the disconnection point and divide and annihilate us, right? Divide and annihilate. Elder Kongping sneered, can they do it with the number of people on the opposite side? What if General Belu transfers troops from the position east of Yuanjing City? Another Feather Clan general said worriedly, first cut off our connection with the Dragon Clan, and then besiege us, and then transfer more troops to annihilate us. At this point, everyone was not a fool, and they soon realized the danger hidden behind. Elder Kongping also knew that he had made a mistake in thinking, but the innate stubbornness of the Feather Clan was still in play. He defended himself by saying, if that's the case, the Dragon Clan couldn't have expected this, so why did they risk the formation being out of sync and force the front to move forward? They can take the water route and won't be trapped. Someone else said this, and Elder Kongping suddenly felt as if he was struck by lightning and came to his senses. If the Dragon Clan was cut off from the other side, the Dragon Clan could still use the water route to escape at worst, but what about the Feather Clan? Although the Feather Clan can fly, the nearby plain terrain makes it almost impossible to see everything from the ground to the sky. If they forcefully evacuate, they will probably have to pay a high price. Quick! Elder Kongping, who suddenly realized, roared and said, the front line should cooperate with the Dragon Clan to move forward. This order seemed to be a hindsight, but the Feather Clan monks present knew the importance of it and hurriedly executed it with great urgency. Although the order came late, the high mobility of the Feather Clan made up for it. The monks just flapped their wings, glided and dived, and then landed one after another, and began to deploy in the new position. Just as the Cunning and White Tiger coalition had rushed halfway, the Feather Clan's defensive formation had been redeployed and connected with the Dragon Clan's formation again, forming a whole. In the siege camp of Yuanjing City, Liu Yan was sitting on one side of the chessboard, holding a white piece. After listening to the report of the messenger, he nodded and said, it's normal that we can't catch up in time. Many times, the flaws revealed by the opponent are only fleeting. You have to distinguish which flaws you can seize, and then do your best to break it. Which flaws have no chance, just try a few points, and don't be frustrated if you don't succeed. I remember, Master. Qiangzhu sat on the other side of the chessboard and nodded seriously. Well, the forwards can be withdrawn. Yan put down the chess piece in his hand. Also, let the 3 teams on the waterway return to the main camp, and the 4 teams switch from ambush to defensa. Didn't the master deliberately reduce the number of defenders on the waterway to lure the other side into the ambush? Qiangzhu suddenly asked curiously, why did you give up this plan now? Look at the current situation. Yan did not answer directly, but just said. Qiangzhu looked carefully and finally seemed to understand. Originally, the defense line of the Dragon Clan and the Feather Clan was separated from the siege position of the Cunning White Tiger by a distance, so no matter what military action the other side took, it was possible, and the tactical changes were relatively rich. If the other side took the land attack, this side would give a head-on blow. If the other side took the underwater attack and entered the pocket, this side would launch an ambush to meet it. But the other side did not take either of the 2 roads, but chose to move the confrontation position forward. The distance of the position forward was just right, and it came to a position where the conflict between the 2 sides was about to break out, but it was a little short of the distance to attack each other. In this case, the trend of full-scale assault seems to be inevitable, so the plan to lure the other side to attack by water will naturally be temporarily abandoned and replaced by open defensa. In order to achieve the effect of encirclement and annihilation, the ambush requires more troops than the open defensa. Drawing out this part of the troops will also help to organize the front line of defensa. The next second, another messenger came to report. The Dragon Clan dispatched 200 monks to attack the right wing of the coalition army directly from the water. Sure enough. Qiangzhu smiled coldly. Sure enough, the other side did not choose to attack by surprise, but attacked openly. Unexpected, Long. Your every move is within the expectations of my master and me. Chapter 808. If my expectation is right, the 200 people sent by Long soon encountered the enemy on the river. The Dragon Clan should have had the upper hand in the river waters. However, the White Tiger squad they encountered was Liu Yan's direct personal guards, and each of them had rich experience in fighting, so the battle situation on the scene was actually deadlocked, and no one could do anything to anyone. There was no need for the messenger to send a message. Long had already seen the scene in the distance through a Jin's scan. With his eyesight, of course, he could see that the White Tiger monks on the opposite side, although most of them were in the transformation realm, their combat power and fighting spirit were very strong, and there was even some cooperation between the fighting methods. They were obviously long-trained veterans, which prevented the 200-man teams of the Dragon Clan from attacking for a while. Long smiled slightly, and quickly continued to push the chess pieces, commanding several teams around to go over and form a siege on the White Tiger monks on the river. Long asked curiously, why do you need to deploy troops to the left-wing waters? Are 200 people unable to achieve the effect of interception? Long naturally couldn't tell her about the scan, so he just smiled mysteriously. As I expected, the other side will definitely deploy elite troops there. 200 people are going to intercept and kill, and there is almost no chance of success without backup. As soon as he finished speaking, a messenger came to report. The attack on the left-wing waters has been blocked, and the battle line is stalemate. Request for support. Now even the originally indifferent Keen Sitone showed a look of surprise on his face. Long is amazing. Long clapped his hands and laughed. How did you predict it? Although Keen Sitone and Keen Lu didn't say anything, their ears were obviously perked up, wanting to know the basis for Long's judgment. This is not difficult. Long thought that if he already knew the answer, what's the difficulty in finding corresponding supporting arguments? He replied, it is obviously a suitable water environment for the Dragon Clan. How could the White Tiger God General not have deployed defenses? If 200 people can capture it, I would be surprised. I see. Keen Sitone nodded secretly, and left the command room to quickly send a letter to inform the generals to cooperate with Long's command. The Dragon generals outside had just stabilized their new front line and redeployed the defensive formation. Suddenly, the chess pieces and magic tools they carried with them vibrated. They knew that the superiors wanted them to go west for support, and they looked at each other in surprise. Keen Sitone's flying sword sent a letter later. After reading the content, the generals' last doubts in their hearts disappeared, and they quickly went west according to Long's command. A large number of new forces joined in, and the balance of war on the water side finally began to tilt. The White Tiger monks could not hold on, and they fought and retreated, and began to retreat slowly. The news reached the siege position of the Cunning and White Tiger coalition. Because Lu Yan did not have any real-time scanning artifacts such as the Kunlun mirror, he received the news a little late. Master, Qiangzhu said seriously, from this point of view, the entrance for the Dragon Clan to break through is set at the waterway on the west side of Yuanjing City, right? It's hard to say. Lu Yan said without hesitation, but if we attack by land, it is equivalent to using a short attack to hit a long one. The advantage of the Horn Tribe monks is too great, so we can only say that taking the waterway is a safer choice for the Dragon Clan. But the Dragon Clan knows that we know this, so it may not be completely safe. Qiangzhu echoed. That's right. Lu Yan finally concluded, this is calculation and counter-calculation. Any strategy on the battlefield must be based on the psychological game between the two sides. Then Master, how should we respond? Qiangzhu asked curiously. Since the opponent chose to attack my right wing, we must also respond. Lu Yan smiled and dropped a move. Soon, in the frontal confrontation line, several Horn Tribe and Hare Tribe demon kings of the cave origin realm left silently, performing the Bailashanxing or the wind control technique, and rushed towards the western river. Although their actions were secretive, how could they hide from Long who was hiding behind that battlefield to scan? So Long said immediately, we will increase our battlefield advantage by sending more troops to the left wing, and the White Tiger God will definitely come to rescue. Considering that the water environment is not favorable for both the Horned and Mal tribes, the number of cultivators sent here will not be many, but their ranks will definitely not be low. You mean, the White Tiger God will dispatch cultivators from the Cave Yuan realm? Keen Sitone asked speculatively. The so-called Cave Yuan is equivalent to the Ning realm of the human race. The number is naturally much smaller than the Formation, Golden Core, realm, but each one is the cornerstone of the front battlefield and can resist the joint attack of hundreds of Formation realm cultivators at the same time. If the Cave Yuan realm cultivators are transferred to the west, the defense of a certain part of the front line will definitely be weakened. Unfortunately, the two armies have not yet fought head-on, so it is impossible to judge from the changes in the war situation, Keen Sitone was thinking, and So Long suddenly pointed to the sand table and sneered. If I guessed correctly, the other side will definitely dispatch troops from here. Why is that? Long asked cooperatively. It's very simple. Long Long laughed. There is a hill in front of this place, which is right at the junction of our Dragon Clan and Feather Clan. If we want to attack this place, we need to send troops from both clans at the same time and attack from both sides of the hill to achieve the greatest effect. The White Tiger God General saw earlier that our front line was out of sync with the Feathered clans, so he guessed that the cooperation between the two sides was not close, so he chose to transfer troops from here. What a cunning White Tiger God General! Keen Sitone sighed. In this case, let's take the opportunity to attack here. Ha ha. Long Long sneered. Elder Clean, please go to the Feather Clan in person to negotiate. Both sides will send out 10 cave origin cultivators and a number of transformation cultivators to jointly attack this place from two sides. He pointed to the sand table, which was the front line behind the hill. Keen Sitone did not dare to neglect it, and quickly ran to the right wing of the Feather Clan and handed in a card to invite him in. In the command room of the Feathered Clan, the generals were busy advancing the front line and coordinating with the pace of the Dragon Clan. They were relieved when they just finished all the affairs. Then they knew that the Dragon Clan elder Keen Sitone was coming to visit them. They were immediately furious. Call him in. Elder Kongping said angrily. I want to ask him what he meant next. In the eyes of the generals of the Feathered Clan, Keen Sitone must have been hindered by the orders of the great elder Keen Kang and had to succumb to the unreasonable orders of Long Long. This time he came to apologize to his ally. As a result, Keen Sitone came in and pointed at the sand table without saying a word, and said quickly, Kongping, lead people to attack this place immediately. My Dragon Clan will send out 10 Dongyuan realm cultivators. How about you send out the remaining half of the troops? 10 Dongyuan realm? Are you crazy? Kongping immediately frowned and said in surprise, where can I find 10 Dongyuan realm cultivators for you? The Dongyuan realm cultivators in this part of the enemy's formation have now been transferred to the water area. Keen Sitone spoke very quickly, urging, if you and I join forces to take this place, we can break the line of the Culling and White Tiger coalition. When Kongping heard that there was a flaw in the defense line here, he hurriedly asked, are you sure about what you said? Of course. Keen Sitone was actually not sure either, but he pretended to be confident and repeated, we will send out 10 Dongyuan realm cultivators. Since the allies have made such a big bet, it must not be a casual joke. Kongping's doubts were gone, and he said, okay. Since the Dragon Clan is leading the attack, our Feather Clan, as an ally, should cooperate. I will lead the attack personally this time. Chapter 809. Retrieve to advance. Elder Kongping led the team personally, which immediately made Keen Sitone feel relieved. Although this birdman's brain is not very good, his strength is first class. Otherwise, he would not have been appointed as the commander-in-chief at the front line by Feng Yan. It can only be said that in this Donghuan realm where personal strength is respected, even if you don't have a brain, you can still hold an important position. It is a very speechless thing. The two sides hit it off and quickly transferred 10 Yuan realm monks and nearly 200 transformation realm monks from the surrounding areas to kill towards the gap pointed out by Long Long. Although several transformation realm monks were transferred away, the defense line here looked normal from the outside. As a result, the combined army of the Dragon Clan and the Feather Clan attacked here, and immediately showed a decline that could not be supported. The number of high-level monks was not enough, and it became a fight between the few and the many. Needless to say, the result was. The signal for help was quickly transmitted to the rear. After listening to the messenger's rapid words, Liu Yan sighed and stood up. Qiangzhou immediately put away the chessboard and chess pieces, and asked, Master, do you want to send people to rescue? It's too late. Liu Yan replied, 20 cave origin realm monks must have occupied the defense line by now. It's easy to come, but it may not be so easy to leave. He said lightly, and took Qiangzhou out of the chess room, came to the command room, and arranged a series of orders. Qiangzhou watched the master give orders in an orderly manner, thinking that the master was worthy at being the master. Even if he suffered a loss, he could still say that he was calculating the opponent, as Liu Yan really focused on the war. The defense line originally occupied by Keen Sitone and Kongping was soon attacked by the Horn clan and the Hare clan from the north. Kongping swept out the 5-color divine light, and saw the White Tiger monks shouting together, and the sound waves suddenly rushed over like an overwhelming force, barely resisting the 5-color divine light. What the hell? Even though Kongping was arrogant, he couldn't help but laugh at the scene. If those White Tiger monks came out to fight alone, none of them would be his opponent, so the White Tiger God General was very cunning and let a lot of monks do nothing on that battlefield, just to serve Kongping. As long as Kongping used the 5-color divine light, they would all resist it with the White Tiger clan's magical power tiger roaring skill. Although the 5-color divine light restrains everything that is not out of the 5 elements, the sound wave is completely not in the 5 elements, so Kongping has no choice. It won't work this way. Qin Sitong quickly judged and said, the other side has too many people and wants to take this place at all costs. Our defensive pressure is too great. Qin Sitong didn't say I'm afraid we can't defend at the end, but Kongping also vaguely felt that he was retreating, and hurriedly said, what, Lao Long, are you afraid? Qin Sitong was speechless. I can't explain it to you, a birdman, is this a question of fear or not? If our entire army is defeated here, you'll take the responsibility, right? Why don't we go ask that young man in your tribe? Kongping continued to taunt, if he agrees to withdraw, what if we all withdraw together? In Kongping's opinion, young people are arrogant and will most likely not agree to withdraw. But Qin Sitong has seen that Long Long is not arrogant. Although he gave everyone a show of strength when he first came here, it was just to convince everyone as soon as possible. Compared with Kongping, that little show of strength is nothing, so he quickly sent someone to inform Long Long. Long Long's reply was soon passed back by the herald. Elder Qin Sitong, I asked you to withdraw as soon as possible, why didn't you do it? Qin Sitong was stunned for a long time before he realized that the chess piece magic weapon on his waist had been vibrating and beeping for a long time. Well, this chess piece magic weapon is used to receive command orders. However, as a general of the Dragon Clan, I command others most of the time, and for a while I really forgot to pay attention to the situation of this chess piece magic weapon. In addition, the battle was fierce just now, so it is normal that no one noticed the abnormality of the chess piece. Although he thought so disapprovingly, he certainly could not explain it to Long Long with this reason, otherwise he would be courting death. Qin Sitong then skillfully used the leader's method of shifting the blame, and asked the deputy general of the Dongyuan realm next to him. The commander gave an order before, why didn't you notice it? The deputy generals were also speechless. They had actually noticed the situation of the chess piece magic weapon, but Qin Sitong did not speak, so how dare the deputy generals go over to remind him? Maybe you, the fourth master, had noticed it a long time ago, but pretended not to receive Long Long's message, just to avoid executing military orders. Then we deliberately exposed your stupidity. How can we survive in the army then? The battle was fierce just now, maybe I didn't notice it, it's a sin. The deputy generals could only bite the bullet and defend themselves. Qin Sitong was very satisfied with this statement. Just when he was about to ask the messenger to reply in this way, he heard Kongping suddenly say, with so many of you, none of you noticed the message sent by the magic weapon. It's too coincidental. This birdman, what a joke. Qin Sitong cursed in his heart, but said seriously, that's right, it's because there are so many of us, but not even one of us noticed the message sent by the magic weapon. It just shows how fierce the battle was just now. It's really stressful. Kongping sneered and continued to shine on the front line. Qin Sitong suppressed his anger and asked the messenger to go back as soon as possible to explain and apologize to Long Long on behalf of everyone. Then he took out the chess magic weapon and read it. The order sent by the chess magic weapon was to ask the Dragon Clan to withdraw from this defensive stronghold, come to the left side of the southern hill, and then attack the defensive stronghold. Qin Sitong. What do you mean? We have occupied this stronghold, and then we have to give up and withdraw, and then we have to reoccupy it. Although he was confused for a while, Qin Sitong was a veteran general after all. After thinking for a while, he soon understood. The terrain of this defensive stronghold is really not good. To the north, in the direction of the Cunning and White Tiger coalition, there is a vast plain terrain. The terrain does not restrict the movement of cultivators. It is mainly a problem of vision. The open plain terrain is easy to attack each other. The two sides can exchange fierce fire from a long distance, and the exchange of combat damage ratio will be very large. The enemy army launched an attack from the northern plain, which can form a semi-encirclement of the stronghold. In addition, the defensive formations inside the stronghold have been destroyed and there is no time to repair them temporarily, which makes it very difficult for everyone to defend this stronghold. But if you withdraw from this stronghold, there will be hills and highlands to the west, east, and south of the stronghold as a cover. Hills and highlands are conducive to containment and defense. With a small number of troops occupying the top, the enemy's Taoism, flying swords, and magic weapons will attack. As long as you retreat and descend in altitude, you can use the hills to block the opponent's vision. But it is also not conducive to attacking. Because if you show your head, you will be perceived by a large group of enemies below, so you can only use it to delay time. The truly ingenious thing is the two passages sandwiched between the three hills. If the Dragon clan occupies the left passage and the Feather clan occupies the right passage, and they attack the stronghold at the same time, they can also form a double team situation for the stronghold. In this way, it is the other side that will be uncomfortable. The defensive formation has been destroyed, and all kinds of facilities are almost gone. You have to spend all your energy and do your best to defend such a shabby stronghold. The more Qin Shi thought about it, the more ingenious it felt. He quickly found Kong Ping, who was shining on the front line, and explained this strategy to him in detail. Kong Ping obviously didn't understand. Qin Shi patiently said it again, and finally concluded. In the final analysis, it's not that we are not as strong as the other side, but because this stronghold is too shabby, which restricts our performance. Not bad. Kong Ping liked to hear this, so he nodded and said, "Then do as you say." Chapter 810. Paralysis of the eyes and ears. Upon learning that the Dragon clan and the Feather clan had withdrawn from the stronghold and turned around to launch a fierce attack on the stronghold, Lu Yan was a little surprised for a moment, and then he burst into laughter. This strategy of retreating to advance is very clever. Qiang Zhu also exclaimed, "In this way, the offensive and defensive have changed." "So what?" Lu Yan asked calmly. Qiang Zhu was stunned for a long time and said, "If they turned offensive into offensive like this, we will be the ones who are consumed." "Who is really afraid of consumption?" Lu Yan asked leisurely. Qiang Zhu was thoughtful for a long time before she suddenly realized. It's the Yu clan garrison in Yuanjing City. If it's just a meaningless fight like this, even if the casualties are a little worse, it's worth exchanging. Lu Yan smiled and instructed her, "After the resources of Yuanjing City are exhausted and the city is surrendered, the other side will be powerless to turn the tide, and the overall situation of the two river plains will be determined. Look at the other side's strategy again. Although it is a tactical victory, it is a big failure in strategy. Qiang Zhu, you must not make such a mistake in the future." "I know." Qiang Zhu nodded, thinking that if this is the case, Long, you have disappointed me too much. She and Lu Yan said goodbye and went to the intelligence department, and asked the deputy general, "Is there any news from the Dragon clan? It is said that Long is still in command." The deputy general said respectfully, and his expression seemed to be a little bit laughing. "What's wrong?" Qiang Zhu noticed his abnormality. "Ahem." The deputy general whispered, "Our spies can't infiltrate the command room, but judging from the orders his squad received, Long's command is too detailed. For example, look at this order. The 7th squad moves forward 50 feet. The specific content is accurate to 10 feet. Does Long think he is playing chess?" Qiang Zhu heard this and looked a little strange. The situation on the battlefield changes rapidly, and most of the time, the details have to be adjusted by the frontline generals according to the situation. If Long really commands every squad in detail, it would be a delusion to replace all the improvisations on the front line with the real line planning, which is a typical paper-talking behavior. Although the enemy's command is so stupid, she should be happy from her position. But for some reason, she felt a little disappointed. "Keep spying," Qiang Zhu whispered, "report to me and my master at any time if you have any intelligence." "Understood." Adjutant Belu nodded in response, but he didn't agree in his heart. Long on the other side gave such cumbersome commands, and most of the orders were impractical. If I showed them all to the God General, he would definitely question my ignorance of the importance of the matter. It is better to wait until there is important information before reporting. Not to mention Belu for now, Long was in the command room, and hundreds of orders were issued in an instant, which made Long Hu and Qin Lu stunned. Although the two are not proficient in military tactics, they also knew that Long seemed to be going too far. Now there are almost no Dragon cultivators on the front line who are not resting, and everyone is being commanded by various orders. Qin Lu was not convenient to dissuade him, so he could only quietly use the flying sword to send a letter to the great elder Qin Kang in the rear, and described Long's paper talk in detail, and then expressed his confusion and doubts. As for how to deal with it, leave it to Grandpa to judge. Dragon Fox couldn't help it and asked, "Long, how can you command so meticulously? The soldiers in front are not your magic weapons, so it is impossible for them to act as meticulously as you ordered." "What do you know?" Long pressed Fox's head with one claw. "This is tactics." "Tactics, understand?" "Hey, so it's just a trick?" Dragon Fox asked simply. Qin Lu's face changed slightly, thinking that it was a trick. "Oops, I was preconceived." The flying sword message just now has been sent out, and there is no way to recall it temporarily. In order to prevent Grandpa from misunderstanding, I can only send another flying sword to send a message, and the letter has 7 big words written in it. Long said it was a trick. So it's a trick of confusing the enemy. Dragon Fox was still trying to understand. Use 2 detailed methods to command. Let the other party think that you, Long, are a mediocre person who only knows how to talk about war on paper, and then use a big trick to turn defeat into victory when being despised, right? If so, it seems feasible, Keen Lu also thought to himself. The White Tiger God has been famous for military affairs for a long time. With Long's operation, it is very likely that you will underestimate him. I just don't know what the killer move is. After a few more hours, Long was still commanding everything in detail and enjoying it, as if he was playing a strategic game. Looking at the front line again, most areas have gained a slight advantage. The Culling and White Tiger coalition on the opposite side did not seem to intend to fight with the same sophisticated and cumbersome tactics, but just defended and delayed in a rigid manner. But such a tiny advantage, let alone laying the foundation for victory, is unlikely to even change the situation on the battlefield. So Long Ho finally came to her senses. This Long, is he not bluffing me? She remained silent and watched coldly. The more she watched, the more she felt that he was just playing, and she was immediately furious and began to grind her teeth fiercely. What's wrong? Long just put down the chess piece and turned around to ask, if you're hungry, I have a chicken leg left over from lunch. It's not about the chicken leg. Long twisted his ear angrily. Where's the big move you promised? Where is the big move you promised? Keen Lu turned his head away, embarrassed to see them sticking together. Long pretended to push Fox away and took the opportunity to touch her a few times, then said calmly, the big move, it's very simple. Then, he did something that made Long Hu and Keen Lu dumbfounded. He put the chessboard magic weapon into the storage bag and packed it away. Let's go. Long said, to rescue the remaining troops in Yuanjing City. Long Hu. Keen Lu. The two of them didn't understand, but seeing that Long was so confident, they had to suppress their doubts and followed him. After leaving the tunnel and coming to the river, Long led the way with the water escape technique, but sometimes turned east and sometimes turned west, but the amplitude was not too large, and it was mainly heading north. Long and Keen Lu followed behind, wondering what kind of strange route this was. After following for a while, they suddenly realized. According to the distance, they should have entered the battlefield. But along the way, let alone the enemy, they didn't even meet a friendly army. What's so surprising? Long said calmly, do you really think that my previous command was just a show of operation on paper? Long Keen Lu was stunned for a moment, and some kind of enlightenment emerged in their hearts. Could it be that through the meticulous and cumbersome command, the thinking habits of the enemy generals stationed here were clearly tested? In this way, whether it is attack, containment or defense, what the opponent will do, it can be predicted accordingly. With the prediction, you can move cleverly and completely bypass the opponent's patrol line. Let's not talk about how shocked these two were. In the Sea of Consciousness, Kunlun Mirror also curiously asked Suman Jian, do you think his command just now was really a test? It should be a test, but it's mainly to paralyze the enemy. Suman Jian said slowly, with your scanning ability, any ambush can't be hidden in his eyes. But even if you can see through the battlefield situation, if the White Tiger receives the news and sends a large army to block and kill here by water, it will not pass. So we have to paralyze the eyes and ears of the White Tiger God. Kunlun Mirror understood, his complex orders for every detail, and the deployment of troops are as complicated and detailed as playing chess. The other party will definitely not choose to respond one by one, otherwise it will be too passive. Since they won't respond one by one, the people below will naturally not report it to the White Tiger. Suman Jian sneered, no matter how smart a general is, if he can't get the first-hand information on the battlefield, what's the difference between him and a deaf and blind person? So the key is to make the first-hand information on the battlefield become massive. Kunlun Jin was finally convinced, this guy is really capable. Chapter 811 Who Goes and Who Stays. In this way, Long relied on his wisdom, courage, bravery and scanning ability to lead Long Hu and Keen Lu through the waterway smoothly and came directly to the bottom of the sluice gate of Yuanjing City. The port of Yuanjing City was originally used for the Muran, supply and taxation of passing merchant ships. Now it has been completely blocked during the war, and even the sluice gates are tightly closed. So the problem arises. How to notify the defenders in the city? It is impossible to knock on the door. If the defenders in the city don't hear it, they will attract the enemy outside the city first. Even if the defenders get the news and come to interrogate, how to prove their identity is another problem. The two subconsciously cast their eyes on Long Long to see if he has any good ideas to successfully enter the tightly sealed Yuanjing city without alerting the enemy outside. "Why are you looking at me?" Long Long asked curiously. "Wait for you to find a way," Long Yu said directly. "Wait for me?" Long Long was surprised. "Use your Jinwu True Fire Fan." Long Yu's face suddenly blushed, but he forgot about this magic weapon. Last time, they were at the bottom of the river. They used the Golden Crow True Fire Fan to mount the gold fossils and dug a tunnel from the bottom of the river. They escaped. Why did they forget it after such a short time? After a moment of shame, Long Hu blamed it on Long Long's attitude of doing everything by himself, which made her originally smart and flawless thinking become dull. She activated the Golden Crow Divine Fire Fan and waved it. Countless white foams rolled in the river water in an instant, and the flames poured down, and soon melted a big hole in the bottom of the river. Long Hu fanned the fire all the way, led the two people into the ground, and then slowly dug up. Finally, light appeared above, and the three people were excited and hurriedly broke out of the ground. Then they were surrounded by a large group of Feather Clan monks. This can't be blamed on Long Hu. You have to know that the Golden Crow True Fire Fan is so powerful, so the movement is naturally impossible to be small. Last time, they dug deep at the bottom of the river, so no one noticed it. This time, they were traveling on the shallow surface. The Feather Clan monks in the city soon felt the ground shaking and red heat coming out of the soil. If they couldn't find it, they would have to be blind. Seeing the three people breaking out of the ground, the Feather Clan monks immediately attacked from all directions without waiting for the other party to reveal their identities. Long Long reacted the fastest. Seeing that most of the arrows were from the Feather Clan, he quickly threw out the Panlong Xiaojin ball. A huge magnetic force was generated, which immediately caused the surrounding flying swords to lose their balance and were absorbed by the ball in pieces. Long Yu also hurriedly activated the Dongfang Wanjing Lily Lamp, and then boundless light was generated, forming a brilliant lampshade, protecting everyone in it. No matter how many magical powers the Feather Clan monks outside used, they could only hit the lampshade and could not attack. Qin Lu's expression was the calmest. He held the red feather arrow given by Feng Yan high in his hand like a royal sword, motionless. Soon, a general of the Feather Clan noticed what she had in her hand and screamed, "Stop! Everyone, stop! In the name of His Highness Feng Yan, Long Long of the Dragon Clan is here to rescue the defenders of Yuanjing City." Qin Lu continued to bully others and said loudly, "Any member of the Feather Clan must cooperate unconditionally. Seeing this feather is like seeing His Highness." No need to say the last sentence. Long Long corrected in a low voice. "Got it." Qin Lu nodded. They were mumbling here, but the surrounding Feather Clan monks did not have any doubts, but were grateful and excited. Although the Feather Clan as a whole is very xenophobic and often habitually makes things difficult for non-Feather Clan monks, these monks have been trapped in Yuanjing City for a long time after all. They cried out to the sky and the earth, but no one answered. They didn't even know whether the reinforcements could arrive smoothly. Every day, they only watched the resources for maintaining the defensive formations continue to decrease, and they were so worried that even their feathers were about to fall off. Now that reinforcements have finally arrived, although they are from the Dragon Clan instead of the Feather Clan, what does it matter? Finally, I can escape. Long Long asked in detail, and the Yu Clan monks looked at each other for a moment before pushing out a young Yu Clan member. It turned out that Qiujiang, the city lord who was originally responsible for the defense of Yuanjing City, was accidentally besieged and killed by several Dong-Yuan realm monks when the Cunning and White Tiger coalition besieged the city. According to the rules of the Yu clan, the command position was handed over to his eldest son, that is, this young general with a miserable expression, named Qiujiang. Although Qiujiang is young, he has been beaten by war after all, and he no longer has the arrogance common among Yu clan nobles. He just said to Long Long in a flattering way, "Since the ally has the red feather arrow in hand, please give us any orders. Even if we have to go through fire and water, we will not refuse." "Very good." Long Long nodded, "I just want you to go through fire and water." Huh. Qiujiang was shocked. "Our mission is to save as many of you as possible, not to hold on to Yuanjing City." Long Long said bluntly, "But there are so many of you. If you follow me to evacuate openly and leave an empty city, the White Tiger God will not be able to find it, and will send a large army to intercept and kill you halfway." The current plan is to let some people go first, and leave some people in the city to continue to resist, so that the other side will think that the defenders in the city are still trapped. As for who will leave and who will stay, Long quickly scanned the number of people in the city. Eastern Standard Time estimated the needs of the city defense, and finally said quickly, about 2/3 of the people will leave first, and 1/3 will stay. You decide the specific number of people. So the atmosphere around them soon became stiff. Today's Yuanjing city is like a giant ship that is about to sink. Everyone wants to abandon the ship and escape, but they find that the lifeboat can only carry a part of the people. This is very embarrassing. I leave and he stays, he will definitely not be happy. What standards can be used to judge whether to leave or stay? Sorry, no matter what standards are proposed, the monks who are judged to stay will definitely feel that the standards are unfair. Qian thought hard for a moment and said, then let the high-level monks stay here, and the low-level monks will evacuate with the allies first. Noticing the slightly changed expression of the older generals, the high-level monks are basically the elders, he quickly added, of course, I'm a general, and I must stay with the seniors. The high-level monks were all ready to protest, but Qian's words I will stay too made some of the elders who wanted to blame him unable to say anything, but they heard Long say strangely, although I'm an outsider, I have to remind you. Why did His Highness Fengyan send people to rescue you? You should all know it in your mind, right? That's right. The older generals were as if they had been pardoned, and hurriedly said, His Highness wants to keep our manpower, but if all the high-level monks die in battle, what manpower will be left? The low-level monks were a little dissatisfied, but after all, their seniority, age and cultivation was there, and they had nothing to say for a while. Then the high-level monks go first, and the low-level monks stay. Qian also realized something was wrong and quickly changed his words. The young generals immediately became noisy, and they heard Long say again, if all the high-level monks have left, with the strength of you scumbags, I'm afraid you won't be able to defend the city for long. How can you hide it from the White Tiger General? So the young generals silently burst into tears in their hearts. Although he is helping us, why does it make people so unhappy? Qian was speechless and stunned for a long time. Suddenly, he had an idea and said respectfully, since the ally has come with the red feather arrow, then your meaning is the same as your highness's. Who should go and who should stay should be decided by you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 812. Intrigue. Long was very satisfied with his tact. In the final analysis, those with developed muscles fight, and those with smart brains command. This is called specialization. Long has always hated those who were obviously not very smart, but because of their high cultivation level, they are promoted to positions that they are not qualified for. For example, the group of birdmen who were unwilling to obey his orders because they are jealous of his command talent, led by Elder Kongping, have a say, you are all remembered by me. Put the old ones aside for now, and deal with these young ones first. Long looked at everyone and saw that the feathered monks at the scene were nervous, uneasy, frightened, and uneasy, with all kinds of expressions. He suddenly smiled and said, there is no rush to finalize the list. Let me get to know everyone first. Everyone was stunned. At such a critical time to escape, you said that you have to understand everyone one by one before deciding who goes and who stays. Are you crazy? Although thinking so in their hearts, no one dared to question it directly, but just tried to force a smile. If they ask a few questions, they will be assigned to stay in Yuanjing City. Who can accept this? Long watched silently from the side, and suddenly some inspiration came to her mind. She knew that the bird people was xenophobic and unreasonable when she and Long crossed Nan's out together. The red feather arrow given by Fengyan would definitely work well if it was in the hands of the feather tribe, but in the hands of the dragon tribe, when they met a scoundrel like Elder Kongping, who insisted that he stole it and refused to admit it, everyone had no choice. Similarly, these feather tribe cultivators in Yuanjing City would not take the three people seriously. But now Long can control them at will for three reasons. First, it is naturally because of the special period, everyone is thinking about how to escape, so there is no time to argue with him. Second, Long was able to cross the layers of blockades and finally arrived at the isolated Yuanjing City, which also gave these feather tribe cultivators great confidence. If there were only the above 2 points, it only meant that Long had the capital to communicate with these feather tribe cultivators on an equal footing. If he gives advice, people may listen, but it is impossible for him to act like he is now, riding on everyone's head and acting arrogantly. The most important thing is the third point. He can decide whether everyone stays or leaves. If they leave, they will naturally be safe if they escape. If they stay, they don't know whether the next wave of reinforcements will come, and they don't know whether they will succeed if they come. The risk is really frightening. The power to decide whether to stay or leave was originally in the hands of Qian, the general defending the city, but Long Long saw that this general had no desire to fight for power and only wanted to save as much as possible. Therefore, he cleverly used words to attack the other party, making him consciously choose to give in, thus taking the power to decide stay or leave in his hands. With this power, all the Yu clan monks had to try their best to please him in order to be on the first evacuation list. And if this kind of flattery is managed properly, it will form a kind of thinking inertia in the future, that is, prestige often mentioned in history. Long pondered silently alone, and then he, Qin Lu and Long Long found a small hall in the nearby city guard mansion and began to receive the Feather Clan monks who lined up. Every Feather Clan monk needed to introduce himself, saying his name, cultivation level, and general combat ability. Again, this information is private and sensitive information under normal circumstances, and even others would get angry if they asked about it. Now, in order to be selected into the first batch of evacuation teams, everyone can only report to Long Long obediently, and dare not act rashly. In this way, the specific situation of the total of 420 Feather Clan monks in the city is under Long Long's control. Next, Long Long did something that made the Feather Clan monks vomit blood. He publicly announced that he would study the list behind closed doors. If he didn't mention this, everyone would at most be frightened. But this person deliberately said, "The list is being studied." How could everyone dare to wait? So they took action to save themselves. The most thought of idea is naturally the traditional classic national quintessence: giving gifts. The gift-giving army lined up in a long queue outside the city guard's mansion, making it seem like a testing point, but everyone was quickly turned away. Long Long said research behind closed doors, and that was really a closed door. No one would knock and the door would not be opened, and the same was true for Qian. The real owner refused to accept the gift, so everyone tried every means to slip things to the messenger. Qian Lu had a stern face and refused to accept anything from anyone. However, there were some very shameless people who stuffed the things into the crack of the door and immediately turned around and flew away. The speed of the Feather Clan was so fast that they didn't know which alley they were in the blink of an eye. Qian Lu couldn't stuff them back on the spot, and he was also very troubled by these magic weapons and elixirs, so he planned to find Long Long to ask what to do. As a result, she met Long Hu on the way. Long Hu listened to her complaints and advised her, "You can give them all to Qian and ask him to distribute them to the original owners. He is familiar with these Yu clan monks, but we are not. Is this okay?" Qian Lu wondered, what if we can't find the original owner? How can we not find the original owner? Long Hu laughed, "If we don't leave a name in that gift, how do we know who sent it? What's the point of bribery like this?" Qian Lu finally realized it, so he packed all the things and gave them to Qian. Qian almost vomited blood when he saw it. He knew that many people were trying to send gifts to Long Long, but he didn't expect there were so many. How could he send them back one by one? He immediately notified everyone and asked them to come and claim them. When everyone heard that the things were in Qian's hands, they were immediately very anxious. If they were left with Long Long, no matter whether the other party remembered their kindness or not, they would feel more at ease. After all, what everyone feared most was that everyone sent gifts, but they didn't, which would really be fatal. But if it is in Qian's hands, it becomes a question of character. Most people who know Qian's character are still trustworthy. But who dares to guarantee this thing? What if he sees something good in it and takes it for himself, and then insists that the thing given to him by Long Long does not have this thing? Then the owner will have to swallow this loss even if he doesn't want to, otherwise can he confront Long Long? So within half an hour, the things were taken away immediately, which is also amazing. The things were taken back, but what about the list? Everyone found helplessly the things went around in circles and finally returned to the starting point. What can we do? Before Long Long announced the results, everyone was completely helpless and could only wait for the results to come out. But Long Hu didn't have this worry. At this time, she was pestering Long Long, clamoring to see the list he finally made. Is there any pattern to this? Long Hu looked at the list for a long time after getting it, and finally couldn't help asking. Among the 2/3 of the evacuation list, high-level monks, low-level monks, old monks, young monks, and even male monks and female monks are basically in a relatively balanced ratio. There is no special group of monks who were mostly arranged to evacuate or stay behind. It seems that who evacuates and who stays behind is randomly selected by egalitarianism. Of course there is. Long said, "Look at the notes." Long looked at the notes carefully and saw that the first person at the top of the list of people left behind had a line of small words at the end. Extremely good at wind escape, the fastest way to run. Chapter 813 Keen lose headache. Running away is the fastest. Long who never thought that Long would judge who would stay by the ability to run away. If you think about it carefully, it is not unreasonable. The first batch of evacuation must be the easiest because the other party did not expect it. The second batch of evacuation, the other party has taken precautions, and the ability to run away is required to be higher. Leaving those who are good at running behind will definitely increase the survival rate of the second batch of evacuation. Unexpected, right? The fellow Taoists of the Feather Clan on the list. Because you are not doing your job properly and specialize in studying how to run away, you have now been included in the list of the second batch of evacuations. Long who was still mourning over there, and Long had already picked up the list and walked out. With the announcement of the list, naturally one family was happy and the other was sad. The monks who were included in the list of staying behind naturally shouted that it was unfair and shouted for Long to give a reason. And those who were included in the evacuation list immediately stood on Long's side with a clear banner to support them, as if they were afraid that Long would not be able to refute them and was forced to announce the revision of the list. How could such a thing be allowed to happen? Dragon Fox was surprised to find that, because Long had decided in advance, the number of people who would evacuate and stay behind was 2 to 1. Therefore, the number of Feather Clan monks who supported Long far exceeded those who opposed him. The latter was almost completely overwhelmed in terms of momentum, but they were stubborn and refused to admit defeat. After all, it was about their lives and property, so how could they be easily persuaded? Even if it was unreasonable, they had to make some noise. As a result, Long only used 6 words to defeat all these Feather Clan monks, just like he had defeated Dragon Fox before. You were good at running away. Because they were good at running away, they were assigned to the more dangerous second evacuation operation. Such a logical reason made most of the opposition silent. A few monks tried to make a fuss, claiming that the intelligence records were wrong and that they were not good at running away, but they were soon brutally suppressed by a large number of supporters. Everyone had been comrades in arms for so many years, who didn't know who? Then, Long used 6 more words to suppress the complaints of the last few people. I will stay here. The commander-in-chief has personally stayed in the second batch of evacuation teams, and you little soldiers are still afraid of death. Is this reasonable? The opponents can certainly say reasonable, but this kind of clamor without arguments is not convincing. Now everyone knows very well that someone must stay in the city to confuse the enemy and create a favorable environment for the first batch of evacuees. Either you stay or he stays. Why can't you stay? On the contrary, reasons like good at running and high survival rate are easy to understand and more difficult to refute. So the matter was settled. When it was the turn of the first batch of monks to evacuate, they were naturally grateful to Long. And the monks who stayed, although Long also stayed, did not have much good impression of him, but they were silent and depressed. Before everyone could accept it, Long came up with a second resolution. Since the number of people left in the city has shrunk to 1/3, the pressure of dealing with the siege will inevitably be greater. Therefore, in order to allow the monks who stayed behind to better complete the task of holding on and create opportunities for the monks who evacuated, I suggest that all the monks who evacuated donate some magic tools and elixirs to the monks who stayed behind. As soon as this was said, there was complete silence. For the monks who stayed behind, it was certainly a timely help. But when I thought that it was Long who had made them stay, I suddenly felt unhappy. For the monks who evacuated, as long as they could save their lives, donating some magic tools and elixirs as money to buy their lives was naturally nothing. However, everyone has selfish motives. Since it is a donation, it is of course based on their own family. The rich donate more, and the poor donate less. Then I said that I was very poor and donated some scrap copper and iron casually. That's also okay? So everyone started to cry poor. Before everyone could shout for Long said, "Fox, go get the gift list from last time." Long was slightly startled, then reacted immediately and said cleverly, "It's in the city guard mansion. I'll go get it now." The monks who were evacuating were all dumbfounded when they saw this. Damn, is there such a thing? Judging wealth based on the gift list sounds a bit strange, but it is very reasonable when you think about it carefully. Especially at the time, the list had not been released yet, and everyone was afraid that if they gave too little gifts, they would be arranged on the list of those who stayed behind, so they all paid a lot. As a result, Long Long returned the gifts with one hand and donated them with the other hand. With such a dazzling operation, it was equivalent to asking the evacuated monks to donate money and property directly to the monks who stayed behind. The former lost money to avoid disaster, and the latter took risks to gain wealth. The resentment of both sides was alleviated to a certain extent. I don't quite understand. Qin Lu asked Long Lu in a low voice. In that case, wouldn't it be more direct to accept those gifts at the beginning and then distribute them to the remaining monks? Of course not. Long Lu showed a subtle smile of only I understand him and said confidently, if we do that, it won't be a voluntary donation. We're the only ones who know how much we received and how much we distributed. Even if we distribute all the gifts we received, there'll still be people who suspect that we have kept some of them behind our backs. But if we let everyone take them back first and then ask everyone to donate voluntarily, there will be no such concerns. Qin Lu nodded with sudden realization, thinking that Long Long is worthy at being favored by his grandfather. I still have a lot to learn in this regard. In fact, Long Lu didn't say some things. The reason why Long Long asked everyone to donate voluntarily is to use power to pressure people. Whatever I ask you to do, you just do it obediently. No matter how many of them are voluntary and how many are forced by the general situation, they will form a thinking inertia. In the end, everyone will give up thinking and do everything Long Long said. That is the so-called prestige. Of course, these things are too sensitive, so it is not easy to tell Qin Lu. Who knows if Long Long will use this to deal with the Dragon Clan in the future? Qin Lu thought silently and returned to the city guard's house. Suddenly, her mind moved slightly and she realized that there was a flying sword sending a letter straight to her. She stretched out her hand and called the flying sword into her hand. Looking carefully, she saw that Qin Kan was shocked by Long Long's paper talk in the letter and asked Qin Lu if what he said was true. If it is true, immediately order Long Long not to continue commanding, and take his military power back to Qin Satone, and then take him back to the rear camp quickly, and never let him continue to make trouble. Qin Lu almost vomited blood when he saw the letter. Grandpa, why are you so anxious? Can't you wait until my second letter arrives before writing this reply? Not long after, the second letter arrived, with only 4 simple characters on it. What do you mean? Qin Lu had a blank expression on his face, thinking how should I explain this? He said that Long Long was just a strategy, but in fact it was to test the movements of the defenders so as to facilitate the infiltration into Yuanjing City, let alone the earliest infiltration. So many things happened later, and now the defenders of Yuanjing City are completely manipulated by him. If I explain the strategy from who knows how long ago, will it feel like I am hiding the current situation? But if I report the current situation, it will not be solved with a few letters, and Grandpa may have more problems. My head hurts. Chapter 814. Siege. Regarding the donation proposed by Long Long, the Feather Clan monks who were originally scheduled to evacuate in the first batch showed great enthusiasm. On the one hand, everyone generously donated various kinds of Taoist magic weapons, flying swords, and elixirs. On the other hand, they tried every means to privately contact the monks they knew who would stay in Yuanjing City this time, and the things they told were similar. My precious so-and-so, when the donations are distributed later, you must get it first for me, and keep it for me when you come back. This is the time to test the warmth and coldness of human feelings. Those who were indifferent directly refused to say that it was randomly assigned by Long Long and they don't have that ability, and then leave indifferently amid the other parties wailing. Those with deep friendships naturally need no more words. A nod is a man's promise that cannot be violated. What I fear most is the kind of hypocrite who pretends to be warm-hearted even though he is obviously indifferent to others. He says okay, brother, I will definitely get it for you, but in his heart he is confused and wants to take it for himself, turning his face against you. If you meet such a person, you can only admit defeat. Needless to say, everyone's ugly behavior. Although one stayed behind and the other evacuated, there were not so many conflicts between Long Long and Long Lu, but they were warm and affectionate. When you activate the true fire fan, be careful to save your strength and don't consume too much of your true energy. Long Long reminded her, as long as the tunnel is dug deep enough, there is no danger of being discovered in the short term. Okay, I know. Long Lu said obediently. These Feather Clan monks may seem to be on our side, but we can't trust them completely. Long Long continued to remind, if possible, observe carefully during the underground evacuation to see which ones are really close to us and which ones are pretending to obey us, and then pull one group and beat another. At least you must ensure that you have the final say on the evacuation. Do you understand? I understand. Long said with a smile. Pull one group and beat another group. This sentence just fits perfectly with what she has learned recently, so the little fox also plans to give it a try. Although Kian was forced to do something before, it can be seen that he is not completely without ideas. Long analyzed seriously, it's just that he lacks confidence and is often easily shaken. If the Feather Clan tries to push him out to fight for power, you only need to hit him with words, and he will most likely give in. Although Keen Lu was sent by Keen Kan to help us, there is no intention of monitoring her. Don't tell her everything. Keep an eye on her, understand? Long responded meekly one by one, which made Long feel a little emotional. Why is it that I feel like I'm sending my daughter away? After sending off Dragon Fox and the first group of evacuees, Long called the Deputy General who was responsible for assisting him and the remaining team and asked, how do the coalition forces outside the city usually attack the city? The Deputy General was named Lu Ming, and he was originally the Deputy General who assisted Qian in commanding. Since the son of the city lord was a rookie in military affairs, most of the time it was Lu Ming who was in charge of specific affairs. Seeing Long asking, Lu Ming answered honestly, the frequency is not fixed. Sometimes they attack the city 3 times a day, and sometimes they don't attack the city. It seems that they won't attack the city today. Humph, a strategy to attack the heart. Long could see that the White Tiger God General was operating so irregularly in order to make the original Jiangqing Feather Clan a frightened bird, and he immediately sneered from his nose to express his contempt. Lu Ming was also helpless. Sometimes, even if you know the other party does this, you can't stop it in a targeted manner. This is the so-called open conspiracy. Long was about to continue his sharp comment when he suddenly heard a loud noise from outside. Attack the city. The two rushed out of the house and saw a huge array light shield rising above the city. Countless flames, thunder and fire, shock waves, exploded in the light shield in the sky like fireworks, making Long feel like a mouse hiding in an upside-down goldfish bowl, trembling with fear as countless big cats violently clawed through the glass. Lu Ming was already numb, and just said, I have to supervise the defense quickly, so I'll take my leave. Yes. Long nodded. He quickly scanned the outside of the city and found that the siege positions in the south, east, and north were all outputting firepower in the direction of the city. Among them, the southern position had to guard against the sudden attack from Qin Siton and Kongping, so it was obviously reserved in terms of attack, while the northern and eastern positions were outputting so unrestrainedly that there was almost no retention. Long found a safe position, lay down comfortably and observed for a while, and roughly estimated that the offensive and defensive strengths were comparable, and it would be difficult to determine the winner in a short time. Of course, the supply in the city is completely cut off, but the consumption of the siege position can be replenished from Thongzhou, so the attack will definitely end in the defeat of Yuanjing City. So why did the White Tiger God General play that trick of irregular attacks? Long thought for a moment and felt that it should be to save costs. War is of course expensive. Judging from the current offensive light in the air, it is basically magic weapons or formations, and there are very few magical spells from the cultivators themselves. Magic weapons and formations are driven by true essence, crystals, and money. Looking at the uninterrupted flashing light above the head, it can be seen that countless money is passing every moment. If it takes 10,000 tons of crystals to attack the city directly, and it takes only 6,000 tons of crystals to consume the morale of the defenders with irregular attacks, the problem can be solved. The White Tiger God General will definitely choose the latter. In Long's view, how to save war expenses as much as possible, the White Tiger God General must be well versed in this. In this case, if I rescued everyone and all the war costs I had invested were wasted, wouldn't the White Tiger God General be furious? In this case, I can't leave too early, so that the other side will consume more ammunition. Hey, don't play too much. Long's bitchiness finally made Kunlun Mirror unable to bear it, and reminded him, the other side is a fairy-level demon. Even if you can win once in a battle of wits, he can kill you with just a flick of his finger. Isn't it you and Su Ming? Long said that at most I would transform into the Qin Sword Master, so why should I be afraid of this little demon clan ancestor? Long doesn't want to pretend anymore. Don't you want to be a fox anymore? Kunlun Mirror used 2 consecutive attacks, and they were critical hits. Long was speechless and could only hum to express his dissatisfaction. On the other side, the siege finally came to an end. A large amount of data was summarized by the frontline teams, such as which barriers showed signs of weakening when attacked, and which places launched counterattacks at what time, all of which were clearly marked and summarized in Liu Yan's hands. Qingzhu watched in admiration. Now she also knew how important intelligence was to war, and how difficult it was to extract useful clues from so much data. The data is wrong, Liu Yan suddenly said. Chapter 815. Chain A diagram. Something is wrong with the data. Qingzhu leaned over to take a look, but this world had neither Excel nor any table rules, and a lot of data was squeezed together in the form of pure text. The little tiger felt dizzy at a glance, not to mention that he could see anything wrong. Seeing her confused expression, Liu Yan drew a circle on a certain data. Then another one. He drew more than 10 circles and put down his pen without saying anything. Qingzhu immediately understood, and took this data and the last data, and specifically compared the numbers circled by the master. Sure enough, after comparing them, he found the problem. If it was a war between mortals, the number of people would be reduced by 1/3 at once, which could be clearly seen from the number, so military strategists derived many corresponding strategies, such as doubling the stoves, adding clothes to straw men, tying branches to the horse's tail and sweeping them around, creating the momentum of thousands of troops, etc. Because the monks rely on magic weapons and formations for their attack methods, it is not easy to make an intuitive judgment on the number of people. The power of the spells of a high-level cultivator with a higher level of cultivation may be equal to that of 2, 3, 4, 5, or even more low-level cultivators. It is almost impossible to judge the number of people only by the effect of the spells. However, the data drawn by Liu Yan is the recovery speed of the war formation that few people pay attention to. Although the war formation is easy to manipulate, it is still a formation after all. In addition to the need for resources to maintain and consume, someone must also manipulate the formation device to preside over it. A spell hits a certain position in the formation and consumes the energy there, so resources must be extracted quickly to repair it. Under the condition of average per capita formation attainment, the more people come to maintain the formation, the faster the formation will recover. Qingzhu carefully compared the data and realized that if he deduced from this point, then in today's siege, the number of cultivators in the city responsible for maintaining the defensive formation had a significant decline. It was only because of the increased resource consumption and formation output that there was no obvious decline. So the question is, why are there fewer cultivators defending the city? Considering the bright side, it is possible that these monks have completely lost their fighting spirit under the master's psychological warfare and have no intention of resisting any further. Speculating from a worst-case perspective, could these cultivators have already? It's hard to say. After listening to Qingzhu's speculation, Liu Yan shook his head and said, but we cannot rule out the possibility that they have escaped from the encirclement. I've checked the information from the intelligence department. Qingzhu continued, if hundreds of cultivators evacuated from Yuanjing City, it would be impossible for them to leave no clues. In this world, there are ways to escape without leaving any traces. Liu Yan said slowly, such as teleportation formations. Master. Qingzhu said speechlessly, if the Dragon Clan or the Feather Clan has mastered the means of collective teleportation, they would not use it only to rescue the defenders of Yuanjing City. Just send spies to sneak into Thongzhou and Shizhou, find a deserted place to set up the formation, and then teleport a bunch of Dragon Clan and Feather Clan cultivators over, then our backyard will be on fire. It's impossible to send people to watch every inch of land. Is there such a possibility? Liu Yan fell into deep thought, and Qingzhu's face turned pale. Even Master couldn't deny this possibility. Could it be that I really guessed it? Of course, doubting such a possibility is just a habit of LVN as a general, to avoid missing any details. But in the absence of any evidence, if you really take it as a fact to prevent it, it would be too paranoid. Although the Mao people in Shizhou call him the White Tiger God, LVN knows that he is far from the god-level of winning every battle. The war between monks is not ordinary. There are all kinds of strange and bizarre things that you have never heard of, but there are too many magical things that suddenly reverse the situation. It's like the war between the demons and humans in ancient times. Obviously, the former had the upper hand, but the latter suddenly turned into two immortal weapons, the sun and the moon, and killed all kinds of demons and heads, and blood flowed like a river. Thinking of the two immortal weapons, LVN couldn't help but sigh, and lamented the insignificance of human power under destiny. If the other party really mastered the mass teleportation formation, as Qingzhu said, the alliance camp of Thongzhou and Shizhou would be in danger of defeat and overthrow. You were attacking the city and plundering the land in front, and the other party sends a few ancestors to your doorstep to replace your family. How can you fight? Although there is no evidence at present, it is not impossible to make a plan in your spare time, so Liu Yan thought about how to deal with this teleportation formation while arranging it, asking each team to strengthen the siege and no longer be stingy with the cost. The formation that can teleport so many people at one time will definitely leave traces in the city. If Yuanjing City is broken through as soon as possible, this matter can be confirmed as soon as possible. In addition to the space-based movement method of collective teleportation, other possibilities also need to be ruled out one by one. Using the river water escape, using the underground earth escape, using the illusion group invisibility, and then finding a secret route to slip out on the battlefield. These are not what ordinary cultivators can do. But now that the whereabouts of that group of people cannot be found, they can only confirm it as much as possible. The next day, the former Jiangqing defenders had just received the donated materials when they were horrified to find that the siege outside was extremely fierce today. There was a momentum that they would not give up until the city was broken. Lu Meng hurriedly flew back to the city defense mansion and urgently found Long Long to report. The enemy has intensified the siege. Oh. Long Long was drinking tea, and he slowly put down the teacup after hearing this, and said calmly, then we should also increase our defense accordingly. It has already increased. Lu Meng was so anxious that his voice was shrill. Sir, have you forgotten? Now there are only 1/3 of the people left in the city, and the strength of the defensive formation has been increased to 4 times the original. The formation that originally required 3 people to maintain, now there is only 1 person left, so the circulation is definitely not as flexible as before, and the formation's bearing limit needs to be increased to 3 times, or even 4 times, and the cost is that the resource consumption rate will also be tripled or quadrupled accordingly. TSK. Long Long said with disdain, I've just seen your defensive formation. It's rotten, really rotten, no wonder it can't withstand the siege from outside. Lu Meng almost knelt down to him. What time is it now? It's as if the enemy has already bombarded the headquarters, but the commander doesn't think about strategic retreat, and is still complaining about the poor equipment. Is this the focus now? Take it. Long Long picked up a scroll on the table and threw it on the ground. Lu Meng rushed over to catch it, with the momentum of a hawk preying, and opened it anxiously. What was written on it was not a plan for the evacuation of the troops, but a formation that had never been seen before. According to the chain formation diagram I drew above, all the isolated and scattered small defensive formations that required a large number of monks to maintain will be connected together. Long Long said lightly. I wonder if there will be an update in the evening. If not, it means that my family has called me to do real work. If so, it means that I have succeeded in slacking off. Why do I feel like I said it the other way round? Chapter 816. The general's demeanor. Lu Meng left with the formation diagram given by Long Long in an extremely devastated mood. Although he could command everyone to defend, he knew nothing about formations, so he could only find a few brothers who were responsible for drawing formations and asked them to improve the formation diagram according to Long Long's diagram. Having said that, at this critical moment when there is a shortage of manpower, is it really okay to transfer some people to improve the formation? Lu Meng was extremely anxious at this time, but Long Long was not in a hurry. He only heard Kunlun Mirror laughing at him in his sea of consciousness. You have carefully designed the formation diagram for so long, and the other party, let alone realizing its value, may not even understand it. Why is that formation diagram very precious? Su Mingjian suddenly asked. What else? Kunlun Jing asked back, do you think it is easy to reorganize countless small formations into a large formation? That is more troublesome than redrawing a large formation. War formations are originally simplified to the extreme. The purpose is to allow every cultivator who does not understand formations to quickly master them. He took so much effort to reorganize many small formations into a large formation in order to minimize the cost of understanding and mastering for these Feather Clan cultivators. It can be said that he took great pains. But even so, the other party did not realize the preciousness of it. I guess when the Feather Clan left here, he might still be thinking, what the hell is this guy doing? Indeed. Su Mingjian nodded. It's better not to understand it. Long Long replied. Oh? Kunlun Mirror said with a chuckle, why don't you understand it? Isn't your purpose to show off? Of course not. Long Long sneered, stupid, do you think I am you? Then what is your purpose? Broken Mirror, have you forgotten what race I am? Kunlun Mirror was silent for a moment, and suddenly stopped talking. This guy is a dragon. Since he is a dragon, although he must fulfill his allies' obligations to rescue the Feather Tribe, he can't just give them a new defensive formation for no reason. What a simple truth, isn't it? But Mira knew that he had made a mistake and began to save his face and dignity, even if they don't realize the value of it at this time. After this formation successfully resists the attack of the Culling and White Tiger Coalition, even the dumbest person can see that this formation is extraordinary, right? So what? Long said disdainfully, this formation is coupled with a lot of environmental factors, so it can only be effective in Yuanjing City. Didn't you find that I even have strict regulations on the drawing position of the formation? Mira was speechless again. Although he couldn't speak, he was thinking, wow, you really have bad intentions. I thought you would give me a big gift without any defensor. I still underestimated your despicable and shameless level. It is precisely because we want to prevent the reuse of this formation that we spent so much time designing it, okay? Long concluded, if it is just to reorganize several small formations into a large formation, it will only take a few minutes. Of course, with your attainments in formation, it may be difficult. Jing was so angry. However, she was good at time and space and illusion, but she didn't know much about formations, so she naturally couldn't continue to fight back against Long. Formations are essentially a language, which is the use of energy in time and space by intelligent life. Jing is like an electric eel. Although it can generate electricity with its powerful innate endowment, it is absolutely impossible for it to know what voltage and resistance are. After being humiliated by Long for a while, Mira, who couldn't win the argument, began to play dead. Long said again, "Don't sleep, Mira. I still have something for you to do for me." Mira immediately perked up and sneered. "After saying so much, you still need my help?" "I guess so." Long smiled and said, "You sneak into the siege camp now and help me see how the White Tiger God plans to attack my city later." Mira. Suming sword. Both the mirror and the sword were completely stunned. "How can you say such shameless words calmly? I knew that your bottom line was unfathomable, but it was too outrageous that you could always give us a refreshing feeling." "Why, it's not possible." Long frowned slightly and said seriously, "Comrade A. Jin, this is what you are wrong about. When two armies are facing each other, they will do anything to win. What's wrong with me asking you to look at the enemy commander's strategy? I didn't ask you to directly behead the enemy commander. It's already a gentleman's duty, okay?" Jin thought so too. If I were asked to subdue the White Tiger God General with an illusion, and then behead him with Suming, how could I follow that thinking of this guy with no bottom line? It's easy to subdue the immortals, but how could it be so simple to kill them? Otherwise, I would directly join forces with Suming to kill the immortals from various sects and take the fragments of the booty in stone. Ahem. Suming coughed and said, "How did you get corrupted by this guy? He always kills immortals and robs fragments. Can't you have some moral bottom line?" Mira was confused, and said after a while, saving the world, isn't it necessary to do everything possible?" Suming was speechless, thinking that you are completely in his shape. There was no choice but to transform into a little round-faced girl again, and find a random direction to escape from the city. Yuanjing City was surrounded on three sides, and it was unknown where the White Tiger God was hiding. It had to scan carefully one by one. Long had no scanning here, and could not sit in the city to watch the siege. However, the tea that the original city lord left in the city was not bad. It was brewed with river water and then boiled, which was a different flavor. Deep underground, the dragon fox was vigorously urging the golden crowtrue fire fan to melt and burn the passage in front, opening a brand new road. The Feather Clan monks in the rear finally knew how these dragons had infiltrated the city. Golden crowtrue fire fan. Although they had never seen the famous magic weapon of the Golden Crow clan, it was a feather fan after all, not a scale fan. They knew it was a magic weapon of the Feather Clan. Looking at the fierce flames, how could they not guess the answer? If it were normal, everyone would rush to kill all these outsiders. How could the Feather Clan's treasure fall into the hands of outsiders? Of course, whether to return it to the Golden Crow clan was another matter. However, this time was an exception. First of all, everyone had to rely on the Dragon Fox to lead the way. Although the Feather Clan was arrogant and rude, it was still difficult to be ungrateful, especially in front of everyone. Killing people for treasures was conceivable, but whoever said it first would definitely be despised. Secondly, Dragon Fox and others had taken out the red feather arrow, which meant that His Highness Feng Yan knew about it. There were two conditions for killing people for treasures. One was that no one witnessed before the action. The other was that no one knew after the action. If these two conditions are not met, what's the point of killing? Because of this, everyone followed Longhu like obedient chicks, watching her use the magic weapon of the Feather Clan to clear the way, and occasionally handing her pills to help her restore her true essence to increase her speed. How is Long? Longhu's true essence was consumed too much, and even with the pills to replenish it, it was still difficult to change the tiredness on her face. But she knew that she was still having an easy time. Now Long, who was resisting the attack of the White Tiger God in Yuanjing City, might be exhausted. Thinking of this, Longhu felt sorry for him again. In Yuanjing City, after modifying the defensive formation according to the formation diagram, Lumen and a group of Feather Clan monks who were guarding the city were surprised to find that the efficiency of the formation seemed to have improved a lot. He hurried back to the mansion to report the news to Long, but he saw that the other party was sitting with his legs crossed, slowly skimming off the phone with a tea lid, and taking a leisurely sip. Not bad, my skills have improved again. Seeing Long's calm demeanor despite the collapse of Mount Tai, Lumen could not help but feel full of admiration and respect from the bottom of his heart. Look, this is the demeanor of a general. Chapter 817 Smuggling Fengyan over. After your improvement of the formation, the balance of attack and defense has finally stabilized. Lumen said quickly. Well, I know. Long nodded calmly, with an expression on his face that said as expected. How to design a formation to minimize manpower expenses while ensuring defensive output, these are the basic skills of a formation master, how could he not know? But the current rate of resource consumption is still a big problem. Lumen continued to worry. Don't be afraid. Long waved his hand, the rate of resource consumption of the attackers will only be faster than ours. Lumen was speechless. What time is it? Are you still comparing this? Yes, the resource consumption of siege is indeed more than that of defenser, but the problem is that their supplies are endless. We even have to rely on the river water to cover a flying sword letter, otherwise there is a risk of being intercepted. Is this a comparison? Then when are you going to take us away? Lumen asked cautiously, fearing that this guy would say no, we will fight the enemy to the end. There's no rush for this. Long said leisurely, let me study it. Lumen retreated weakly. This is not urgent. Then what is urgent? As a member of the Feather Clan, I really can't understand the strange thinking of the Dragon Clan. However, what Lumen didn't know was that, to be honest, Long did not lie. He really needs to study it. After about half a day, the siege still did not stop, and the Kunlun mirror came back. The little round-faced girl ran into the hall in a hurry, and Long hurried down to greet her. Oh, little aunt, how long have I been waiting for you? Without your information, I can't make this strategic decision. The group of birdmen below were all waiting for us eagerly. Long prepared a lot of complaints to vent, but was interrupted by the Kunlun mirror. I'm so thirsty, give me some tea. Will you still be thirsty after the artifact is transformed? Long complained and poured her tea. Kunlun mirror took the teacup and drank it all, rolled his eyes at him again, and said, What? After the divine weapon has transformed, it should be given to you to work without food or drink and without complaint. It's okay, please continue. Long had to smile. There are many places where this broken mirror will be used in the future, and he can't afford to offend him for the time being, so he will endure it first. That White Tiger God General is really too insidious, too despicable, too mean, and too cunning. Kunlun mirror said angrily. Long then said oh and continued to ask. How is he insidious, despicable, mean, and cunning? He planted an insider in the city. Kunlun mirror said. Oh, a spy. Long thought that this was nothing, and then suddenly reacted. Could it be that you're blaming someone else? Who is the insider? Long asked with a smile. Kunlun mirror quickly reported 3 names, and then said. The White Tiger God General has already instigated these 3 people to rebel, and plans to find a time to cooperate inside and outside to capture the city in one fell swoop. Long quickly wrote down the name and said disdainfully. I thought it was something else, but I didn't expect it to be this outdated plan of internal and external cooperation. If it were me, I would just play the long game and let these spies work hard to climb up, and after gaining Long's trust, I would find an opportunity to assassinate and behead them. By then, the people in Yuanjing City will be demoralized, and it will be easy to take over, right? Indeed. Kunlun mirror said seriously, but we also have to consider the quality of the spies. If they are not truly insidious, despicable and cunning people, They can't be spies for too long without being discovered. That's right. Long Long also echoed seriously. One more thing to consider is that the spies themselves may not be willing to do such dangerous work, and the White Tiger God General's bribery and rebellion will not have a high degree of restraint on the spies. If there is a spirit that can parasitize in the spy's sea of consciousness and tempt him to do shameless things all day long, then let alone assassinating the enemy commander, even if it is the important task of seizing the sect's artifact, the spy will have no way to refuse, right? That makes some sense. Kumlin Jim handed over the teacup. Do you have any more tea? Yes, yes. Long Long quickly filled it up for her. This tea tastes pretty good. Kumlin Jim smacked his lips, and seemed to like the taste very much. I have practiced the art of brewing tea for a long time. Long Long immediately took credit for himself. The quality of the tea is very good. Kumlin Jim suddenly said, even if a pig comes to brew tea, the taste will not be too bad. That may not be the case. Long Long objected. The skills of brewing and tasting tea complement each other. If you bring a pig over, even if you give her tea stems to chew, she will find it delicious. Oh, no more, I'm so tired. Kumlin Jim put down the teacup, and turned into a stream of light, hiding in Long Long's sea of consciousness. By the way, how long are you going to stay in my sea of consciousness? Long Long suddenly asked. Why? Kumlin Jim said dissatisfiedly, I just made a few jokes with you, but you were in a hurry to drive me away. That's not the case. Long Long replied, but haven't I helped you find all the fragments of your body? You have already transformed, but you are still living in my sea of consciousness as if you didn't have a body before. Isn't this a bit strange? If I don't hide in your sea of consciousness, but stay by your side, and your junior sisters you, senior sister Am, Mishi, Witch Jiang, and Little Fox see me, how are you going to explain it? Kumlin Jim said with a sneer. That being said, there is no one around me now. Long Long said nonchalantly. So I am their substitute. Kumlin Jim became more and more dissatisfied. Who said that? Long Long immediately denied it. I just hope you can experience the beauty of the world more, and don't chatter with the sword in your sea of consciousness all day long. Its character of looking for fun and making trouble is too bad. I'm afraid it will affect your pure and flawless character. Sumin Jian, who was also shot while lying down. Okay. Kumlin Mirror appeared again, turning into a cute girl with a small round face. She sat on the chair next to Long Long, grabbed a handful of melon seeds and started cracking them. How do you plan to deal with these three accomplices? Just watch first. Long Long also started cracking melon seeds. If you arrest them without any evidence, it will inevitably be difficult to deal with. Your identity is still too embarrassing. Kumlin Mirror said bluntly, if a member of the Feather Clan was here, he would definitely not be so restrained. Isn't it? Long Long sighed and said, it's better to get an identity of the Feather Clan. That won't work. Kumlin Mirror said, you got this task from King Kang and Feng Yan because of Long Long's identity. That's right. Long Long finished cracking the melon seeds in his hand and went to grab the melon seeds from Jin's side. So it's still the problem of the Yu clan themselves. Kumlin Jim knocked down his outstretched hand. The Yu clan themselves are not obedient to their superiors, and it is Feng Yan who should reflect on it. Oh, I got it. Long Long suddenly had an idea. What do you think if we smuggle Feng Yan over here? Kumlin Jim was stunned. Chapter 818. Dragon pretends to be the Phoenix. Kumlin Jim was stunned for a long time before he came back to his senses. This guy, in some ways, is also an unpredictable genius. In the situation where Yuanjing City was surrounded, everyone was thinking about transporting troops out as soon as possible, but Long Long suddenly had a reverse thinking and wanted to transport others from outside, but think about it carefully. If Feng Yan was transported, although it would effectively improve Long Long's prestige, there is also the possibility of being seized. If Feng Yan and Long Long disagree, who should be listened to? Kumlin Jim told Long Long about his concerns, only to hear Long Long say disdainfully, how is it possible? If Feng Yan has any escape plan, can't she do it herself? I'm just going back to rest. Kumlin Jim was speechless. How could I forget about this? Long Long didn't want to wade into these muddy waters in the first place, but Feng Yan and King Kang were at their wits' end and had to find ways to force him to come. At this time, it's too late to stand up for him. How could I disagree with him? That's it. Long Long finally made the decision. One person and one mirror left as soon as they said they would, and they were teleported directly, and Wush appeared in the coalition base camp. At this time in that base camp, King Kang was anxious. The reason was simple. Keen Lai sent such a letter back, and Keen Kang was naturally shocked. He thought that Long Long was really useless. As a result, Keen Lai sent a second letter without a beginning or an end, saying it was all a trick, which made Keen Kang even more confused. Just when he was waiting for more explanations, his granddaughter suddenly stopped sending the letters, which made Keen Kang more uneasy. Could it be that the area from the front line position to the rear base camp was also infiltrated by the Kulin White Tiger Coalition and began to intercept the flying sword to send letters? If so, it means that the front line position may have been completely lost. Keen Kang quickly sent out scouts to confirm the situation of the front line position. The scouts hadn't come back yet, and he couldn't show his anxiety in front of his allies in the Feather Tribe. If it turned out to be a misunderstanding, it would really damage his reputation, so Keen Kang could only frown and walk around the command room anxiously to get rid of his boredom. Just as he was getting anxious, he suddenly saw Long Long floating past the window. Keen Kang. He rushed out of the command room and scanned with his spiritual sense, but there was no trace of Long Long at all. The front line position wouldn't really be lost. Long Long teleported to the command camp and asked Arjun to help him block any outside detection. Keen Kang just rushed out of the command room. Then he scanned and confirmed that Feng Yan was not in the camp, but hunting outside. Hunting? It's wartime, our soldiers are fighting on the front line, why are you, a royal noble, still hunting? Long Long sneaked over and saw Feng Yan shooting with a small bow and arrow. The bow and arrow are not magic weapons, but just ordinary tools. His Highness's accuracy is very poor. The birds and beasts in front of him scattered in fear and soon ran away. The guards beside her did not look away. Feng Yan said to herself awkwardly, I haven't practiced for a long time. I'm a little rusty, ha ha ha. She emptied another quiver and finally killed a wild duck flying in front of her, but Long Long could see clearly that the wild duck was suddenly startled and flew into the air, and was hit by the arrow shot by Feng Yan. Feng Yan immediately ran to pick up the duck. Just as she pinched its wings, she heard Long Long say, Your Highness's archery is not bad. Cough. Feng Yan coughed and asked in surprise, Why are you here? Shouldn't you be? I have successfully sneaked into Yuanjing City as expected of your Highness. Long Long said calmly, I just encountered a little trouble. Little trouble? Feng Yan thought to herself, isn't the biggest trouble to break through the encirclement? How could it be? Oh, I understand. There were originally different opinions in all aspects within the Feather Clan. Some wanted to fight with Kulin, some didn't want to fight, some wanted to form an alliance with the Dragon Clan, and some didn't want to form an alliance. It was only because the Kulin and White Tiger Coalition attacked first and pressured the entire two river basins that the various voices within the Vermilion Bird were forced to unify and make resistance to Zhongzhou the top priority. But resistance is resistance. Although they agreed to form an alliance with the Dragon Clan of Dongzhou because of their isolated strength, not everyone was convinced by it. It was just that Long Long took the red feather arrow and there were still people who didn't listen to his command, which was equivalent to losing face, which really made Feng Yan very angry. Then you want me to support you? Feng Yan raised her eyebrows and asked. Your Highness is interested, Long Long dare not disobey. Long Long smiled. Ha ha, Feng Yan sneered in her heart. It was obviously you who wanted to invite me, but you insisted on saying that I took the initiative to go. Forget it, Yuan Jiangqing is a big deal after all, so what if I follow his words? Feng Yan went back to talk to the two guards and dismissed them, then came back and said, Let's go, lead the way. Your Highness is not taking guards? Long Long asked in surprise. No need. Feng Yan said, travel light and finish as soon as possible. The two took off at the same time. Long Long used the art of flying clouds and mist, and Feng Yan directly transformed into wings and flew north together. It only took a moment to teleport back. It would take a certain amount of time to fly back by magic. In Yuanjing City, Lumen found that the city guard's mansion was empty, and he was so shocked that he almost vomited blood. After a careful search, he found the letter left by Long Long before teleporting, saying that he went out to get reinforcements. Finally, he couldn't help it, and vomited blood in anger. Could it be that the Dragon Clan saw that the siege was too strong and there was no way to escape, so they ran away alone? Thinking of this, Lumen's hands and feet were even colder. If the Feather Clan monks outside knew about this, the army would be in chaos, and the city would not exist. Fortunately, Long Long usually stays at home, and only tells him to do it when there is an order. If I don't say it, pretend that Long Long is still in the city guard's mansion, issuing orders, maybe I can conceal it for a while. As for the future, I'll talk about it later. Staying alive is the most important thing. Luming is determined to defend Yuanjing City with his comrades. Long Long has already rushed to the front line with Fengyan. Long Yu led a large group of people to dig tunnels, and the speed of advancement is not very fast. At this time, they have not withdrawn to their positions. Long Long did not go to the command camp of the Dragon Clan, but brought Fengyan to the Feather Clan and said, "I want to see Elder Kongping." When the Feather Clan cultivator saw that it was a strange Dragon Clan member whom he had never seen before, he sneered and said, "Do you think a little dragon like you can see Elder Kongping?" "Oh?" Fengyan rushed out from the back and said sinisterly, "If you can't see him, then can I? Do I need to write a visiting card and ask you to go in and report?" The Feather Clan cultivator recognized that this was His Highness Vermilion Bird, and hurriedly lowered his head, trembling with fear, shaking like a sick, and repeatedly said that he dared not. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 819. Silly geese lined up. Even though these patrolling Feather Tribe monks didn't recognize Long Long, they couldn't fail to recognize Fengyan. Seeing this prince rushing in with murderous intent, how could they dare to stop him without authorization? 9 of the 10 Feather Tribe members were frightened away, and the remaining one was still able to see the opportunity and hurried to find the generals to report the news. When the generals heard that His Highness Fengyan had suddenly arrived, they were all shocked, especially Elder Kongping. Kongping was born in the Peacock tribe. Arrogance and rudeness were both a racial gift and a tribute to his ancestors. But this set of tricks was okay for outsiders, but it was not enough for Fengyan. What was Fengyan's identity? She might not be as good as the generals in fighting, but if it came to wisdom and strategy, everyone present was tied up and she wouldn't be able to beat them alone. In addition, the Vermilion Bird was as hot-tempered as fire, and Fengyan was even more brutal when she scolded people. She could make every word as sharp as a knife and every sentence as sharp as a thorn. While scolding people to the point of blood spraying, they couldn't even say a word back. For the already proud Peacock clan, this was even more humiliating than being defeated in a duel, so Kongping hurriedly said he was investigating the front line and rushed to the battlefield. When the generals reluctantly gathered together, they found that Elder Kongping was not there, and they were so angry that they started cursing. As they cursed, seeing Fengyan's angry face, everyone's voices couldn't help but become smaller. "I heard that Long Long came with my red feather arrow, but was slandered as having stolen it." Fengyan sneered and said, "That's not the case. It was all done by Elder Kongping. We really had no choice." Everyone talked at once, shirking all the responsibility. Elder Kongping, who was not here, naturally became the best person to take the blame. Fengyan just sneered, and then criticized them without any hesitation, calling everyone over to scold them, scolding the generals so much that they couldn't even raise their heads. Long Long was listening nearby, and felt that the prince's ability to talk was so amazing that no one dared to try it easily. After scolding everyone like a big head of garlic, Fengyan waved her hand and asked everyone to disperse. Some smart people came to apologize to Long Long, but Long Long naturally smiled and forgot all the grudges, and didn't care about anything. Anyway, it's what he said, believe it or not. Fengyan felt much more comfortable scolding here, and said to Long Long, "In this way, the old thief Kongping can't gather people to make trouble anymore. What tactics do you have? Just use these, Berthman." Long Long was also a little embarrassed when he heard it. "Your Highness, is it really okay for you to say the word Berthman? What are we going to do next?" Fengyan asked. "We're going to Yuanjing City." Long Long replied. "What are you going to do in Yuanjing City?" Hearing that they had to go deep into the siege, Fengyan didn't refuse immediately, but just asked. So Long Long told the two-group evacuation, and finally said, "Leave the second group behind, these monks have already expressed their opinions. If there are not enough people to suppress them, I'm afraid something will happen if we purge them again." "Oh," Fengyan said meaningfully, "since it is a purge, it means there is a troublemaker, right?" "It's not a troublemaker," Long Long said, "it's a traitor." "Traitor?" Fengyan was surprised. "How did you find out?" "How can I tell you this?" Long Long said tangledly, "the inference process is more complicated." "Forget it." Fengyan waved her hand, "Take me there." Long Long took Fengyan and took the water route again. This time, the scan found that the patrolling monks around were similar to the last time, but the number of monks hiding in the dark was twice as much as last time, which clearly showed that they were on guard. Unfortunately, under my scan, all these arrangements were exposed. Long cleverly designed the route, and always slipped through the gaps between the patrol teams. This was something that the White Tiger God General could not predict and target in advance. No matter how powerful he was, no matter how meticulous and powerful the general was, it was impossible for the frontline troops to patrol accurately according to the route they set. With errors, there were naturally flaws. A scan showed that they were everywhere, and there was no need to use illusions to cover them up. It was just Long and Fenyan, who were wandering around in various ways, as if they were in an empty space. Fenyan followed Long for a distance, and her expression suddenly became like the Tivlongo and keen like before. First, she realized something was wrong, then she was shocked, then she was thoughtful, and finally she said, "Wow, it can be like this." She looked at Long with a strange look. "So how did you do it?" She asked directly. "You predicted the White Tiger God's deployment, then observed and memorized the patrol team's route, and calculated the route that could be cut in without being discovered, right?" Before Long finished speaking, Fenyan overturned this guess herself. "No. The patrol team's route may be adjusted at any time. How can it be observed and calculated in advance? So you should have some secret method of long-distance reconnaissance." "Your Highness," Long said with a smile, "no matter how much you guess, it's useless." "Is this your attitude towards your allies?" Fenyan said dissatisfiedly. "It's because we treat each other as allies that we can't have deep friendships." Long smiled. "How hurtful." Fenyan also fell silent. "This is really the truth. The best allies are those who have no feelings and are firmly bound together by common interests. The worst is that their interests are conflicted with each other, but they are inseparable because of feelings. If Long tells all these secrets, then he and Fenyan are not cooperating, but developing a personal relationship. After the relationship is good, if the Dragon Clan and the Vermilion Bird are hostile in the future, how will the two get along? It would be better to limit the relationship to an appropriate distance from the beginning." "You see it clearly," Fenyan said. "Your Highness is too kind. If there is a chance, consider a marriage." Fenyan continued, "Even if you don't marry me, the Feather Clan also has many outstanding girls for you to choose." Ha. Long couldn't help laughing. "Thank you for your Highness's appreciation. I am very grateful. Very grateful, that is, there is nothing to do except gratitude." Fenyan understood what Long meant, but she was not disappointed or unwilling. She thought that this was a protracted war, and our Feather Clan was best at endurance. "As long as Nanzao and Dongzao have not started a war, I will get you sooner or later, Long." The two finally passed through the layers of defense and then came to the foot of Yuanjing City. The passage that was previously burned by Long with the Golden Crow True Fire Fan has now been completely filled. Long was not in a hurry, but just took Fenyan into the air and went directly over the city wall. There is naturally a large defensive formation in the air, which will attack the target that flies in. But this defensive formation had been modified by Long, so how could it not leave a backdoor for itself? The two crossed the city wall and entered, but the formation did not react at all. The feathered monks inside were immediately shot and quickly flew over to meet the enemy. As a result, they were shocked when they saw Long, and they were dumbfounded when they saw Fenyan. A group of birdmen hovered in the air in shock and dumbfounded, looking like a line of stupid geese. Chapter 820. Feelings. Fenyan's eyes circled among the Feather Clan monks, and suddenly asked Long, "Who is the traitor?" Long calmly raised his arm and quickly pointed out 3 people. The 3 people's faces changed, and they shouted, "Unfair! How could we be traitors? The Dragon Clan slandered us. He must have deliberately framed us and wanted to find a reason to eliminate dissidents." Looking at the faces of the surrounding Feather Clan monks, even with these few groundless accusations, many people around were already suspicious, and the xenophobic habits of the Feather Clan can be seen. If Fenyan hadn't been there might have been chaos at this time, but Fenyan just glanced, and those who were seen immediately shut up consciously, otherwise they would be scolded and couldn't say anything, and everyone already had a psychological shadow. The 3 people also looked pale, knowing that since Fenyan was here, the 3 of them would definitely not be able to incite the masses, so they suddenly turned into 3 streams of light, revealing their true bodies, and fled out of the city with all their strength. Fenyan raised her hand, and 3 streams of light flashed, instantly shooting down the 3 large birds in the distance. Long scanned clearly from behind, and they were 3 small red feathered arrows. It turned out that the red feathered arrows were not only a symbol of power, but also a magic weapon that could play a killing role. Those who collaborate with the enemy have been killed. Feng Yan said coldly, those who have ulterior motives, this is the end. Everyone was silent. Back in the city guard's mansion, Feng Yan asked Long Long, what should we do next? I have 3 strategies. Good, medium and bad. Long Long said calmly, please choose, Your Highness. Let's talk about the best strategy first. Feng Yan said. The best strategy is to maintain the status quo as much as possible. Long Long said, Yuanjing City seems to be besieged, but isn't it nailed in the occupied area of the Kalin White Tiger Alliance? As long as Yuanjing City is not broken, the Kalin White Tiger Alliance will not be able to completely occupy the Two Rivers Plain. The Feather Clan only pays the risk of the remaining troops being surrounded and annihilated, which is definitely cost-effective. The best strategy is not advisable. Feng Yan sighed and said, if the remaining troops in Yuanjing City are lost, someone in the clan will definitely criticize me for this. What about the middle strategy? The middle strategy is to defend Yuanjing City for a period of time, and then evacuate in time. Long Long said, this way, the probability of saving the remaining troops is greater. The worst strategy is to evacuate as soon as possible. Feng Yan patiently listened to the 3 strategies and knew that Long Long advocated holding on as much as possible to consume the opponent's resources and energy. To be fair, she didn't think there was anything wrong with this strategic direction, but some factors were outside the battlefield, and she herself was powerless. How long will the middle strategy last? Feng Yan asked. It depends on the situation of the battle. Long Long replied. Then let's take the middle strategy. Feng Yan decided, we can switch to the worst strategy at any time depending on the situation. Okay. Send me out of the city. Feng Yan said. If Your Highness is willing to defend Yuanjing City, morale will surely be high. Long Long took the opportunity to offer slanderous words. How can I stay in danger for too long with my precious body? Feng Yan immediately saw through his despicable intentions, which was nothing more than wanting to use his banner to train those Yu clan monks for his own use. Send me to the front line first, and if you can't do it again, come to me for help. Long Long smiled and said nothing. The other party even said if you can't do it again, can he really say can't do it? So Long Long asked Luming to continue to preside over the defensor, and he took Feng Yan out of the city. Hearing that Long Long came and was leaving, Luming's bitter face was almost wet. Qian was already too much of a hands-off manager, but he didn't expect Long Long to be even more excessive, not being in the city most of the time. However, His Highness Feng Yan was right next to him, so he naturally couldn't complain, and could only nod and agree. Long Long escorted Feng Yan out of the city, and the whole journey was smooth, ignoring any blockade, which made Feng Yan marvel. The blockade of the Kalin and White Tiger Coalition is too lax. Feng Yan complained, don't they change the patrol route? Only when the patrol route is discovered, is it necessary to change it? Long Long said casually. That's right. Feng Yan thought, even if he is the White Tiger God, he can't predict the future and expect you to see through the blockade network formed by these patrol routes. The other party should have noticed it, otherwise they wouldn't have increased their siege efforts. Long Long laughed and said, the White Tiger God is really a monster. He can counter it even like this. You who can force the White Tiger God to this extent are even more monsters, right? Feng Yan was in a good mood at this time, so she complained, fortunately, our Feather Tribe patrols are mostly based on air flight, and you won't see through it so easily. Long Long smiled but said nothing. Hey, can you see through the patrol network distributed in the high altitude directly? Feng Yan suddenly frowned and asked. Long Long continued to smile but said nothing, but seeing that Feng Yan seemed a little afraid, he hurriedly said, of course I can't see through it. This unicorn white tiger wandering in the low altitude is nothing more than a matter of east, south, west, and north, but the Feather Tribe can take off. In addition to east, south, west, and north, there is also a difference in height. The amount of calculation has increased exponentially, which is really beyond my ability. It would be better if he didn't say it. This made it seem like she was trying to cover up something, and Feng Yan was even more eager to recruit him. But she didn't know what charm that fox had, or whether Long Long was just too stubborn. No matter how Feng Yan threatened and seduced him, he didn't budge, which made the vermilion bird so angry that it wanted to peck him hard. Back at the front line, the dragon fox had already brought the first batch of evacuated monks to the base camp of the two tribes. Among the Yu clan monks at the front line, there were also many relatives and friends of the evacuated monks. At this time, the two sides finally met, and they were all in tears and moved. When asked how they evacuated, the Yu clan monks praised Long Long for saving their lives. Of course, there were some who resented the donations of money and wanted to say something sarcastic, but they were swept away by Feng Yan's eyes and immediately fell silent. Long Hu had never expected that after saying goodbye to Ling Long before setting off, he would still see Ling Long when he arrived at the destination. He immediately threw himself into his arms and acted like a spoiled child. After flapping his furry tail a few times, it tightly wrapped around his calves. The dragon cultivators around him looked at him and felt a little strange. Although the Kanglong clan had already designated Long Hu as being of dragon bloodline, it was still hard to accept the typical big tail of the fur clan. Feng Yan also watched coldly, thinking that if he could accept such a tail, it meant that Ling Long was not a dragon bloodline supremacist. In other words, the reason why he was attached to the dragon clan was because of his deep feelings for the old times. Unexpectedly, Ling Long was still a very loyal dragon. To deal with such a character, simple inducement would definitely not work, and you have to talk about feelings. Thinking of this, Feng Yan gradually came up with a new idea. Chapter 821 Explosion on the spot. The Feather Clan and Dragon Clan coalition, in the basin of the Two Rivers Plain, surrounded Yuanjing City and launched a series of battles with the Cunning White Tiger coalition. This war, which involved both the Imperial Clan and the three major vassal states, was called the Half-Wall War by the Eastern Empire Realm. Obviously, if the Two Rivers Plain was completely occupied by Zhongzhou, there would be no buffers, only Nanzhou. The Cunning White Tiger could go down the two rivers and directly attack the core hinterland of Nanzhou, which could be described as half of the country collapsed in an instant. But if the Two Rivers Plain was defended, the coalition forces of Zhongzhou and Shizhou could be pinned down here, giving the northern province Quchuan a chance to breathe. As for what the final outcome would be, no one could say for sure. Long Long was personally commanding Yuanjing City day and night. The defensive formation was repeatedly violently shattered by the attackers, but was quickly repaired by Long Long with his rich experience, and then pushed back. Occasionally, when the siege rhythm slowed down, he would find a secluded corner in the city guard mansion, swallow a dragon blood pill stolen from the old dragon, and then refine it. In the past trip to Shen and Gjie Mountains, there were many useless things in Lao Long's storage bag, and Ouyang threw most of them to his wife Shialuli. Shenending was replaced with Fanshan Seal, and Black Yua Mirror has not been researched yet. Only Dragon Blood Pill can be immediately converted into combat power, so it cannot be wasted. The effect of the elixir carried by this immortal is really extraordinary. After the medicinal power was refined, Long Long felt that all the hard work was solved under the urging of this domineering blood, and turned into real hard work. Looking back, his cultivation from the Xingqiu level, to the Zhongyan level, and then to the Wei level did not come from hard work, but benefited from the various top-grade elixirs obtained from Ziwei Master, Wangxiang Immortal, and Lao Long. It is really speechless. It is impossible to get rich overnight by working, and it is impossible to ascend to heaven in one day by hard work. Only by relying on the thighs of high-level cultivators can you barely maintain a rapid upgrade speed. Long Long calculated with his fingers and knew that it would take several months to reach the great perfection of the Wei stage. After the great perfection, it would be the heavenly tribulation of the infant formation. When he reached the first grade golden core stage, even though he was a genius, he was almost destroyed by various heavenly tribulations that were beyond his level. Now, this immortal infant tribulation would be even more dangerous than the first grade golden core tribulation. Fortunately, the magic weapons, skills, flying swords, and many other resources he had at hand were much stronger than when he reached the great perfection of the foundation establishment stage, so he was not completely without the confidence to survive the tribulation. But he certainly would not survive the tribulation in this Eastern Empire realm. Jin, let's reload the game and go to Kumlin. Point 1. Kimline Mountains, Kumlin Frontliner. Character Identity. Kyo Chains Iron. Mirror Flower Water Moon Template overwritten, time traveling. Kyo Chains Iron opened his eyes and sighed helplessly. In the Eastern Empire realm, a large-scale war took place. In the cultivation realm, a war of considerable momentum also took place. In the Eastern Empire realm, I play Long Long of the Kanglong clan, who is currently serving as the commander of the war zone, responsible for leading his monks to fight against the Cunning and White Tiger coalition. In the cultivation realm, I play Kyo Chains Iron of Kumlan Tai King sect, and the same, I can't go on. If I put it in a novel, I might be accused of having too many words. But considering the repetitiveness of history, it's actually not surprising. For example, the end of the Han Dynasty was the decline of the Han Dynasty, and the heroes fought for hegemony. The end of the Sui Dynasty was also that decline of the Sui Dynasty, and the heroes fought for hegemony. At the end of the Han Dynasty, there were famous generals such as Yuan Yu, Xing Lao, and Zhao Yu, and at the end of the Sui Dynasty, there were also famous generals such as Qin King, Ya Qigong, and Qing Yujin. Anyway, fighting is all the same. Although for Qiu Chang Tian, it feels like crawling out of a mud pit and jumping into another mud pit, he can only make do with it. Brother. Yuanzhen pushed the door open from outside. Several mines have been recovered. Very good. Qiu Chang Tian clapped his hands and smiled. Junior brother, I have a new list here, you take people to capture them. After Yuanzhen formed the elixir, his Taoist name was Pin Chuan, but Qiu Chang Tian was still used to address him as his fellow disciples. As for the cultivators outside, they did not call Yuanzhen Pin Chuan Xinren, but desperate Yuan Lang, and there was no need to explain why. Yuanzhen silently took the list, but was not in a hurry to leave, just looking at Qiu Chang Tian eagerly. I have another sword technique here, junior brother, take it and play with it. Qiu Chang Tian said calmly, imitating the tone of an immortal bestowing a treasure. Yuanzhen received the sword technique and hurriedly left while reading it eagerly. Qiu Chang Tian looked at his back and sighed. Why was Yuanzhen so thirsty for power? Of course, he knew the reason. In the past, the two are brothers in the same realm, but now their cultivation has been so far apart that a little bit of my power would make him grateful and willing to use it at will. I can only say that the Matthew effect in this world of cultivation is too outrageous. If you fall behind in one step, you will fall behind step by step. From this point of view, I have to cultivate the golden core realm to perfection as soon as possible, and go to form an infant to overcome the tribulation. Thinking of this, Qiu Chang Tian looked at the specific battle plan again. If the Yu Clan and Dragon Clan Alliance fight against the Kulin and White Tiger Alliance, the winning rate is about 40% to 50%, then the strength comparison between Kunlun Tai King Sect and the Six Paths Alliance should be 7 to 3 or more. In terms of apparent strength, the demon cult is definitely not an opponent. Even if all the Six Paths are dispatched and work together to fight Kunlun, they can't beat them. Wei Dongliu's strategy is nothing more than sneak attack, Yunzthong, containment, Iron City mounting, and then leave. If Kunlun turns hostile and wants to fight seriously, then everyone will immediately break up into pieces, so that you can't even find the sect's station. However, Kunlun's idea is quite similar to the helpless attitude of the ancient Central Plains dynasties towards nomadic peoples. I know you are here to take advantage of me, and I also know that I have no ability to eradicate you, so I can only drive you away as soon as possible. Qiu Chang Tian sighed and received another flying sword letter from Zhu Yingyan. He unfolded it and saw that Zhu Yingyan scolded Wei Dongliu in the letter. The words between the lines were I almost defeated him, but the master was afraid of something going wrong and had to call off the troops. That old demon Wei was too lucky, which made Qiu Chang Tian laugh. What is the specific situation? How can I not know it? My wife, you still have to practice hard. In short, the elders of Tipchin Mountain are all out, and there are Yuning everywhere. I think there will be no more variables. As long as many resources in Yunzthong are recovered, this battle will be over. Qiu Chang Tian continued to command in an orderly manner, and captured many lost areas one by one. Most of them were determined to fight, and there were a few who resisted stubbornly. He let them go and rushed over to kill, exploded, and killed indiscriminately. After killing them all, there was no resistance. Almost 80% to 90% of the remnants of the Six Paths were recovered, and the remaining troops of the Six Paths also gathered together. It was probably for the last round of counterattack. Qiu Chang Tian was commanding the encirclement, and suddenly he heard a shocking explosion in the distance, as if the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. The two sides who were fighting stopped their actions at the same time, turned their heads and saw that a large area of dark clouds had risen in the south, like a black tide pressing down on their heads. That direction is Shushan. There was another loud noise, which shook the four fields and was as terrifying as thunder. The morale of the demon sect was immediately shaken. They thought that the Shang King sect of Shushan had done many evil things, so it was punished by heaven and exploded on the spot. For a time, they took advantage of the situation to counterattack. Instead, the cultivators on the Kunlun side were caught off guard and were almost suppressed by the demon sect. Qiu Chang Tian sighed and stood up with his sword in hand. Chapter 822 Qiu Chang Tian fights the demons alone. The demon cult took advantage of the chaos in Kunlun and attacked. The gusts of cold wind and the dark clouds were from the Engido. The dancing of the heavenly demons and the seductive women were from the heavenly demon-do. The angry King Kong and the surging murderous spirit were from the Shirodo. The poisonous insects and strange beasts were from the Donghuangdo. All of the above, and the strange ones were from the Mortal Do. The Kunlun people retreated quickly, all of them looked extremely frightened. A Yingida monk rushed to the front, put his hands together, and a large piece of white mist sprayed out from them, killing the Kunlun people. A few did not escape fast enough, and were touched by the white mist, and immediately their faces turned purple, their limbs became necrotic, and they fell down. The Ingido's Jirohi cold art was really vicious. Everyone retreated, only Qiu Changtai raised his sword and stood up, and the Tianyuan Yeki sword flashed, instantly cutting through a large piece of cold air, like a spear breaking leather. The Ingido master was horrified. He knew how powerful this first-grade golden elixir was, so he turned around and retreated quickly. Qiu Changtai would never give him this opportunity. He pointed his finger, and the Tianyuan Yeki sword shot out like lightning, and then he killed the Ingido master. The opponent's chest suddenly broke into pieces, but the Tianyuan Yeki sword stabbed nothing. This method of splitting bones is also one of the many road tricks of the Ingido. The initial stage is the breaking of joints. When you practice it to a high level, you will be like this person, with every part of your body being separated and pieced together, and you were almost immune to all physical attacks. But Qiu Changtai had expected it, and he shot out a lightning bolt, hitting the opponent's separated body, and immediately turned it into ashes on the spot. The Ingido master was horrified, and the remaining body fell down one after another, and was snatched away by other Ingido disciples around, barely saving his life. Qiu Changtai was about to chase him again when he saw a demon from the heavenly demon do blocking his way. It was the demon from Lingyun, whom Wei Donliu had dealt with before, and the direct descendant of the sect master of the heavenly demon do. The demon from Lingyun also knew that Qiu Changtai was enlightened and that all the magic tricks of the heavenly demon do are useless to him, so he shook his sleeves vigorously, and many demons fell down and instantly pounced on Qiu Changtai. These were the 72 formless gods and demons, and their attacks were more secretive and vicious than the more superficial 36 formful gods and demons. Without specific reconnaissance magic weapons and secret methods, even the Yingning elders would be at risk of being hit. Qiu Changtai had no expression on his face, but just scanned and logged the position of the demon, and then used the big hole thunder that was specifically designed to defeat the heavenly demon to hit it. The 72 formless gods and demons were instantly half ashes by the thunder. The frightened demon from Lingyun's face was pale, and he quickly collected the remaining gods and demons and turned around to flee. Just as Qiu Changtai was about to chase him, he saw another person coming to kill him. It was a foreign monk from the Shirodo. He was holding a Zen staff and looked extremely fierce. A huge Dharma body appeared behind him, holding 6 weapons and smashing down. Before the weapon hit him, a strong wind blew in his face. Qiu Changtai was not afraid at all. He just pinched the Do formula and cast a Tai Shank Chuanji Limfu. This talisman has the ability to suppress. The more powerful the true essence is, the more powerful it is. Qiu Changtai is now at the Yue level of the Jindan realm. His true essence is so powerful that there is almost no rival below the Yingning realm. When the talisman hit the huge Dharma body, the aura around him immediately became rigid and solid, and the weapons he swung also hovered in the air without moving, unable to chop down, which was very funny. The foreign monk was about to use the Zen staff to attack, but he saw that his proud trump card was fixed by a talisman. He quickly abandoned the Zen staff and rolled on the ground. He fell to the ground and fell down again. He then merged into the soil with the secret technique of earth escape and disappeared in an instant. Qiu Changtai defeated 3 Jindans in Rome of the same level with this move. Seeing that he could not defeat them alone, the demon monks behind him rushed forward and used all kinds of magic weapons, flying swords, and secret arts. The magic brilliance was everywhere, surging like a tide, which looked very scary. If it were an ordinary monk, seeing such a big battle, his legs would have been weak and his thighs would have trembled. But Qiu Changtai had just returned from the Eastern Empire realm. The siege artillery of the Cunning and White Tiger coalition was many times stronger than the chaotic joint efforts of you demon monks. He was not in a hurry at the moment. He first cast the Tiasan Chuanji Lingfa and hit the direction of the most violent attack. All the magic spells became invisible. Then he activated the Tai King Yuan Qian Lan, covering his body without any dead angles. All kinds of attacks fell into it, like a drop in the ocean, and it was difficult to make an inch. Finally, he played the push-tied horizontal wave flute for a while, and the sound waves rolled out, defeating all the remaining spells. The people at the demon cult were stunned, and then they were horrified. It was expected that a real person of the same level could not beat Qiu Chang Tian. After all, the first grade Jindan was well deserved. But the combined attack of so many Jindan real people could not even touch the corner of the opponent's clothes. In the hearts of the people, a kind of helpless enlightenment gradually emerged. Chang Zhenxinren, at first, had a clear mind of Taoism and outstanding talent. Then he was taught the secret method of the immortals in Kunlun, and he laid a solid foundation of Taoism and achieved the first grade Jindan. Finally, his mother's family and the sect gave him various magic weapons. Whether it was the Tian Yuan Yaki sword, the Tai King Yuan Qian Lan or the push-tied horizontal wave flute, they were not ordinary magic weapons, and they were more than enough for the Yuning realm elders to use. Talent, Taoism, and magic weapons, the Trinity, created a peak powerhouse who would cross the level. Now among the Jindan realm cultivators, no one can be his opponent. So the Jindan Shenron of the six paths retreated one after another, and a dozen Yuning elders joined forces to kill and rushed towards the Changzheng Shenron who stood alone with a sword. Qiu Chang Tian almost vomited blood when he saw this. It is true that I am invincible in the same level, but it is not worth a dozen Yuning elders to surround and kill me, right? Too much, too much. He simply laughed loudly, pretended to be fearless, and rushed towards the dozen or so elders of the demon cult. This reckless rush scared everyone at the scene. Seeing this, the Jindan Shenron of the demon cult thought, could it be that Changzheng Shenron of Kunlun can already compete with the Yuning realm cultivators? Everyone was even more terrified, and hurriedly cast their own escape spells and dispersed. Seeing this, the Yuning elders of the demon cult also had a shudder in their hearts, thinking to themselves, could it be that Changzheng Shenron borrowed some super powerful magic weapon from the old thief Kisun, the kind that can kill several Yuning elders with one blow? Thinking of this, they stopped their charge and prepared to use various defense or escape methods. The Yuning elders of Kunlun in the back were so scared that they could not sit still. If Changzheng really died here, not to mention the loss of Kunlun, they would definitely be blamed for offending Ziwei sect master and Kisun immortal at the same time. So the elders of Kunlun rushed out together, and in an instant they passed Qiu Chang Tian and fought with the elders of the demon sect. The situation on the battlefield escalated into a Yuning bombardment, and Qiu Chang Tian was finally able to escape. When he returned to the main camp, he received a flying sword letter from Ziwei sect master, which contained only 8 simple words. There is a change in Shushan, so stop the war for now. Qiu Chang Tian read it silently, knowing that his master must not know what happened in Shushan at this time, but it was too scary for Mount Imlay to be split into 4 petals. What if some old demon attacked? How would Kunlun respond? Therefore, he must not move his troops. After thinking silently, he showed the letter to the elders around him. So the next day, Kunlun withdrew his troops. Chapter 823 The Broken Mask. The great change from Shushan caused Kunlun and Liudo to cease fire at the same time. For the former, the lost resource points in Yonzthong area have been basically recaptured. For the latter, they have basically gained enough from occupying the resource points during this period. Therefore, it is rare that both sides have become war-weary, and just when the change in Shushan happened, both sides tacitly stopped fighting. After receiving the information, Qiu Chang Tian hurried back to Tichingshan station, and saw that all the elders were present, and Ziwei sect leader frowned. Looking again, Kisun Immortal was also rarely present. He stood in the center of the crowd, pinching the doge, looking calm and composed. Changzhen, come here. Ziwei sect leader called Qiu Chang Tian to his side. Qiu Chang Tian came to the master and said nothing. Kisun Immortal did not speak, Ziwei sect leader naturally did not speak, and the other Yuning elders were even more silent. The scene was as solemn as the solemn part of the ancestor worship ceremony. About a quarter of an hour later, Immortal Kisun suddenly said, "Why are you all silent?" Everyone was stunned. "If you don't speak, how dare we speak?" Qiu Chang Tian saw that the figure of the head of Ziwei sect shook, but soon stabilized, and leaned close to the ear of Immortal Kisun and said, "Set the tone first." Immortal Kisun immediately reacted, coughed awkwardly, and said, "After many years, the master of Qin sword was finally born in Shushan. It is indeed a blessing for our orthodox sect." With this sentence, all the elders of Kunlun knew that Kunlun's attitude towards this matter was openly supportive. Since they were openly supporting it, they certainly couldn't say bad things too bluntly, so everyone started talking at once. Yes, with the birth of the Qin sword master, our orthodox sect's luck is indeed inexhaustible. With the Qin sword master, Shushan's strength has made another big leap forward. The demon cult has heard that the Qin sword master was born, and now it has completely retreated, ha ha ha. Seeing that everyone was following the trend, but no one could get to the point, sect leader Ziwi could only clear his throat and say casually, Shushan's strength has greatly improved, which is a blessing for the Orthodox sect. But we in Kumlan are not far behind, and we need to be cautious about how to deal with the competition from brother sects. First of all, following the tone set by Immortal Cultivation, calling it a blessing for the Orthodox sect, and secondly, there are hidden worries in this great blessing, and that is the competition within the Orthodox sect, and Kumlan will undoubtedly face greater pressure. After Master Ziwi changed the topic, everyone followed the Master's topic and continued to talk. Although Shushan has Chin Sword Master, we also have Changjang in Kumlin. In fact, to be fair, although Changjang is a first-grade golden elixir, he is still inferior to Chin Sword Master. It's just that he is inferior at this stage. Chin's human sword is a human artifact. But Chin Sword Master himself is said to be only a third-grade golden elixir. His foundation is backward, and he is lagging behind step by step. The gap will only get shorter and shorter. Everyone discussed and talked with each other, and soon reached a consensus. Although Changjang is not as good as Chin Sword Master at this stage, the gap will only be shortened in the future. The synchronization value is below the warning line. Kumlan Mirror said suddenly, pay attention. What? Kyo Chang's Iron was shocked. No, why didn't you remind me of this earlier? Kumlan Mirror fell silent. Although she really wanted to see this guy exposed, after all, it was about lurking in Kumlin, so Arjun would naturally not be careless and deliberately do bad things. The synchronization value really dropped too fast, and she didn't have time to react. The news spread too fast. Kumlan Mirror said worriedly, in the past, Kumlan accounted for 70% of the source of your invincible setting synchronization value, and the world accounted for 30%. Now that Chin Sword Master has been born, Kumlan has received the news faster than other sects, resulting in the influence of the 70% source, which has led to a rapid decline in the synchronization value. Wait. Kyo Chang's Iron asked, even if the source of synchronization value is damaged by the news of Chin Sword Master, it should be temporarily stopped rising, not declining, right? That's right. Kumlan Mirror nodded and said, now that it has declined, it can only mean one thing. Someone is spreading the rumor that Changjang's Hanron is not as good as Chin Sword Master inside Kumlin. Kyo Chang's Iron. Who the hell is so idle? Don't get caught by me, or you will suffer the consequences. By the way, what will happen when the synchronization value drops below the warning line? Kyo Chang's Iron asked again. The concealing effect of the illusion will not be enough. Kumlin Jing said casually, for example, the invincible character is Kyo Chang's Iron's mask, and the face under the mask is Cheng Yuan's Yue. Your junior sister's Yue is used to Kyo Chang's Iron's mask. If one day the mask is discarded, she will see Cheng Yuan's Yue underneath it and will not associate it with Kyo Chang's Iron. But now that the mask is damaged, Zhu Ying will gradually become familiar with Cheng Yuan's Yue's temperament. When you take off the mask one day, she will still have a certain probability of having a sense of Jdu. Of course, this doesn't matter, after all, you would have run away by then, right? Who are you kidding, Broken Mirror? Kyo Chang's Iron said with a sneer, this matter is very important, okay? If Kyo Chang's Iron's character is really discarded, with junior sister's personality, won't she have to look for a husband all over the world? If my true identity is exposed to her, doesn't it mean that I have to hide, for fear that junior sister will find out one day? That's what you said, but even if you are now disguised perfectly and have abandoned your persona, do you dare to appear in front of Zhu Ying openly? Kumlan Mirror asked. Kyo Chang's Iron was speechless. No matter how well you disguise yourself at this stage, as Cheng Yuan's Yue, you must try your best to avoid being seen by Zhu Ying in the future. Kumlan Mirror replied, so whether the mask is intact is not that important to you. I'm not wrong. Compared to the disguise problem of the mask, the other one is what you should worry about. What is the other one? Have you forgotten how the talent of low-heart clearness came from? Kumlan Mirror reminded him. Kyo Chang's Iron. My talent of low-heart clearness is going to be gone? He said in disbelief, this is absolutely not possible, I can't accept it. It's not going to be gone, it's just that I can't use 100% of my talent. Kumlan Mirror explained. That won't work. Kyo Chang's Iron said hurriedly, I still have to rush to the great perfection of the away stage. Now the efficiency of low heart is reduced, what do you want me to do? Well, Kumlin Jing was embarrassed, how about brushing the synchronization value of the invincible character setting? This synchronization value has indeed not been brushed for a long time. Kyo Chang's Iron thought for a moment, and said viciously, brush. Chapter 824. Sister Zhu. Speaking of which, it has been a long time since I last refreshed the synchronization value. Qiu Changtian thought that since he had formed the first grade golden elixir, he no longer needed to refresh the synchronization value, but he did not expect that the invincible golden body he had condensed would be broken by his other trumpet. It was really speechless, comparable to the battle between Qiu and Wei. Sure enough, no matter which world, there are only a small group of people standing at the top of the pyramid, and it is impossible for them not to compete with each other. I still have to refresh it. Qiu Changtian found the headmaster of Ziwei and proposed that since the war was over and he was no longer the commander-in-chief, he could do something within his ability for the sect, such as discussing the matter with fellow masters, competing with each other, etc. The headmaster of Ziwei listened in silence, and then reminded Qiu Changtian, saying that it was a good intention for Master Chang'an, but what time is it now? Not only in our Kunlun sect, but the whole world is comparing you with the Qin Sword Master. If you are so eager to show yourself, everyone will say that you, Chang'an, knew that you were no match for him, so you deliberately showed off. This goes against the introverted way of our Kunlun. Qiu Changtian was also dumbfounded when he heard this. Is the problem now to be introverted and low-key? My synchronization value is almost gone, and I am still low-key. He quietly left the lecture room of Yaxu Palace, and saw Zhu Yinglong landing from the side. Seeing Qiu Changtian's gloomy expression, Zhu Yinglong could probably guess that it was because of the matter of Qin Sword Master. He couldn't help but feel moved, thinking to himself, senior brother would also be left behind like this, and therefore feel sad. Thinking of this, infinite tenderness arose in his heart. He went over and hugged Qiu Changtian's arm, and said gently, "Senior brother, why are you so unhappy? If it's just because of the Qin Sword Master, in my opinion, it's unnecessary. The Qin Sword Master is only a third-grade golden elixir, so what if he has the Qin's human sword? No matter how powerful the external objects are, they will not fall on the foundation of one's own Taoism. The subsequent formation of infants and ascension to immortality will definitely be more and more distant. Why rush to be in a hurry at this time?" Qiu Changtian's heart was also warm when he heard this. He understood the truth, and the elders of Kunlun had said it hundreds of times, but how arrogant is junior sister Zhu. If it were any other cultivator whose realm and strength were weaker than hers, they would not even look at her twice, let alone comfort her. Regardless of whether I am the invincible senior brother or not, junior sister has me in her heart. The two returned to Jinlan Cave Mansion, and Qiu Changtian, who was deeply moved, combed Zhu Yinglong's hair and hugged her for a while, just like Lu Yan treated Xie Luli. But why has Zhu Yinglong been treated by these gentle tricks? In the past, although the senior brother was gentle and elegant, he did not exceed etiquette. Occasionally, he hugged her and was gentle for a while, and when he saw her blushing and shy, he immediately stopped. To put it bluntly, although they have become Taoist couples, they are more like senior brothers and sisters. Now this is what I think is the interaction that should exist between husband and wife. Thinking of this, Zhu Yinglong felt that her seven-orifice exquisite heart was about to melt in this boundless tenderness and sweetness. Qiu Changtian also felt a little strange, probably because the temperament of this junior sister Zhu was completely different from that of Xie Luli. For example, when he coaxed her and said some sweet words, Xie would immediately crawl into his arms like a little bird, snuggling in his arms and clinging to him. But Zhu Yinglong was cold by nature, and even if she was shy, she would just blush at most. As for taking the initiative to hug like Xie, it was absolutely impossible. However, the more she was so proud, the more Qiu Changtian became interested. What's the law of teasing your own wife? It's just a hobby between husband and wife. He tried out the many active offensive methods he learned from which Jingon junior sisters Yu one by one. What about raising the chin and staring? What about pretending to whisper but actually blowing? What about holding the face and kissing and challenging to hold the breath for an incense stick of time? So much so that half of Zhu Yinglong's body was limp, but he still held on and refused to give in. He just looked at Qiu Changtian angrily, thinking that although senior brother loves me, he can't be so frivolous. Who does he think I am? Stare at him. The two of them attacked and defended each other, back and forth. Qiu Changtian saw that junior sister was reserved at first, but later she was soft and powerless, trying to resist but also welcoming. It was obvious that she had given up most of the resistance, and he felt a little regretful in his heart. If he didn't have Qiu Changtian's mask at this time, but showed her the face of Cheng Yuan's Yu, how great would it be? He thought so frustratedly, but forgot that the synchronization value was too low. At this time, in Zhu Yingyan's eyes, senior brother didn't have the arrogance, indifference and superiority of the invincible character. Although the dazzling light of the past was gone, he seemed more friendly and lively. Seeing that his expression suddenly looked a little annoyed, Zhu Yingyan thought that she had rejected him too much, causing her husband to feel a little disappointed. After hesitating for a moment, she suddenly hugged him and took the initiative to offer her mouth. Qiu Cheng's Tian was also caught off guard and was directly pushed down by junior sister Zhu. The specifics are self-regulatory, so let's not talk about it for now. Anyway, the heat has come. Qiu Cheng's Tian's hands are on his belt, and he suddenly realized something. Jing and Sumin are still watching. It's okay, I'm not watching. Kunlin Jing said hurriedly. She really wasn't watching. Not only did she withdraw all her spiritual consciousness, she was also trying to block Sumin Jian's perception. I didn't watch it either. Sumin Jian said confidently. This broken sword was lying, and at this time, it was trying every means to break through the Kunlin Jing's shielding. The one mirror and one sword spoke out, and in an instant, Qiu Cheng's Tian's burning heart fire was completely extinguished. No matter how flexible and free he was, he couldn't make an action movie for the one mirror and one sword to watch, so his movements gradually slowed down. Zhu Yingyan finally recovered his breath, but he just hugged Qiu Cheng's Tian tightly, quietly feeling the body temperature coming through the Taoist robe. The two continued to be affectionate for a while, and then separated from each other. Zhu Yingyan sat cross-legged and began to use his energy to dispel the remaining lustful thoughts in his body, and soon became calm. Qiu Cheng's Tian also looked up to the sky, trying to calm his mind, but now his Taoist heart is only 40% or 50% of his talent. How can he have the original immediate effect of concentrating his mind? Thinking of Qiu Cheng's Tian's invincible character now, which was also messed up by Ling Yunpo, he sighed in his heart and planned to read the file to other characters, cultivate the Jin and Ren to the great perfection, and pass the heavenly tribulation, and then let you know the power of Elder Chang'en's first-grade immortal infant. Chapter 825. Your own path is most important. Point 4. Tipchen Mounting, Shiroduo resident. Character identity. Wei Dongliu. Mirror Flower Water Moon Templar covered, in the process of time travel. In Wei Dongliu's timeline, the war is not over yet. At the foot of Tipchen Mounting, the Yunning elders of the Six Paths took turns to fight with the elders at Kunlin. Wei Dongliu watched from behind, thinking that the current Six Paths Alliance, no, the Five Paths Alliance, is still a little behind Kunlin Tai King sect. But if the Hell Path can show its trump card, with its terrifying strength it can stay in the depths of hell, plus the alliance of the other five paths, it should be able to suppress Kunlin, but it is still not as good as the alliance of the three purities. In this way, it can explain why the Hell Path hides its tracks. Without the Hell Path, the other five paths united, can neither beat Kunlun nor Shushan. Kunlun Shushan naturally has no sense of crisis, and can maintain the delicate situation of both alliance and competition. But if the Hell Path shows its strength, it will inevitably promote the integration of the three pure ones of the Orthodox religion, which is nothing less than a catastrophe for the Six Paths. However, since the Hell Path now asks him to find ways to become the co-leader of the Six Paths, does it mean that it is also planning to step into the spotlight? Could it be that they already have the confidence and self-confidence to deal with the three pure ones of the Orthodox religion? As the sky got dark, both sides called off their troops again and withdrew their elders. There is no problem with night battles for the ascetics, but there is no need to do so. The Six Paths have no chance of winning, and Kunlun is unwilling to invest too much chips to get a bitter victory, so everyone maintains a considerable degree of restraint. For example, in the battle in front of the battle, each party uses their own methods, regardless of life and death. One fell, and another quickly made up for it. There was no situation where two or three sneaked up on one. It was not because everyone followed the rules, but simply felt that it was unnecessary. Wei Dongliu secretly observed the situation on the battlefield, but he didn't know that Jiangli was also secretly observing him. This great freedom demon which originally regarded conquering her husband's body and mind as a game, so she always maintained a casual attitude of not caring about the temporary victory or defeat, but recently she felt a little irritable. The reason is simple. Wei Dongliu and Zhu Yingyan fought a few days ago, and others may not have noticed, but how could she not see that her husband was deliberately letting her go? If she were Wei Dongliu, she would directly set up the Wangxai and sword formation to block the opponent's way, and the magic energy would pour in overwhelmingly, and the 100 poisonous golden silkworm gear would sneak attack in the magic energy. Even if the Phoenix Fairy had all kinds of means, how could she escape? In this regard, Wei Dongliu explained that this trip was not to fight Kunlun to the death. Killing the Phoenix Fairy would only anger Kunlun, which would not be worth the loss. However, Witch Jing has always been good at observing words and expressions. Although there is no clear evidence, she feels that her husband is not telling the truth. For a witch, what evidence is needed? I think you have it. You are finished, you know. Late at night, Wei Dongliu was calculating the day when Ling Yun would break the sword and split Shushan, when suddenly Madame Jing pushed the door open and shouted, "Old thief Wei, your deeds have been exposed." Wei Dongliu was taken aback by her and thought that his cover had been blown, but he quickly came to his senses. If my identity as a spy was exposed, the other party's first reaction would be, "Who are you? How could they still call me Old Thief Wei? Good fellow, you actually dared to cheat me." "What?" Wei Dongliu squinted at her. "What are you hiding from me again?" Jiang Lin was startled and subconsciously thought that his identity as a demon was known to the other party, but he quickly came to his senses. If my identity as a demon was exposed, the other party's first reaction would be, "Demons, please retreat." How dare they squinted at me? "Good fellow, you actually dared to cheat me." Jiang Li secretly crossed his arms and said coldly, "You are the one who is hiding something from me, tell me the truth." "That is to say, you don't deny that you are hiding something from me?" Wei Dongliu sneered. "You didn't deny it either?" Jiang Li secretly thought, how long would it take to talk about this? He immediately got straight to the point impatiently. "Wei Dongliu, what is your relationship with Zhu Yinlian? If you don't share the same ideals, you can't make plans together." Wei Dongliu said indifferently. Although junior sister Zhu is very cute, whether she is arrogant or shy, he is playing the role of Wei Dongliu at this time, so naturally he will not show any liking, but it is a bit too much to say that he hates her. This kind of indifferent attitude of "I know she is my enemy, but I don't think she deserves it" is the most perfect response. Jiang Lin didn't notice anything wrong, but women don't need to be reasonable, so she snorted and said, "Tell me the truth, do you have an affair with Zhu Yinlian?" Wei Dongliu was speechless at first, then he quickly showed an expression of "don't go crazy here," looking at her with disdain. Seeing his reaction, Jiang Lin suddenly felt a nameless anger. If it were an ordinary unfaithful man, he would at least find some reasons to deceive his wife. My husband is so good, now he is too lazy to even make up a lie, which makes me, as his wife, seem not like his pillow man. Thinking of this, Jiang Lin suddenly realized, although he is his pillow man, I have never slept with this husband, right? Every time I plan to seek happiness with him, he either refuses or prevents it, and his attitude is extremely perfunctory and disdainful. What does retaining Yuanyang mean? You were a demon king who practices magic. You are not those pure-hearted and aloof Taoist people, and you don't practice any orthodox Quchuan men. Why do you need Yuanyang? Thinking of this, Jiang Monu suddenly became enlightened. She was no longer bound by any shackles. She remained expressionless, just moved closer to Wei Dongliu, performed the heavenly demon wonderful sound method, and said, "My husband, if you and Zhu Yinlian really had no personal feelings, why did you show mercy to her that day? You are not the kind of person who sympathizes with women. I just don't want to make enemies with Kunlun." Wei Dongliu said indifferently, "Didn't I also not use my full strength when I faced the true man Chang Zheng in the White Bone Palace? My wife, don't shout for fighting and killing at every turn." Perhaps realizing that his attitude was too cold, he turned into a serious expression and advised, "For those of us who practice cultivation, the most important thing is our own path, nothing else. If someone blocks the path, just kill him. But if it is just for the sake of momentary pleasure and fame, what difference does it make whether to kill or not? Does it make you look powerful? As your husband, I have long passed the stage where I need to prove myself with victory or defeat." Jiang Li listened in thought, nodded and said with a smile, "So that's how it is, the path is more important than anything else, I understand." "Oh, right, husband. I am practicing a dual cultivation technique, and I need your essence as a guide. According to you, nothing is more important than my own path. I believe you will definitely lend me a helping hand, right?" End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.